Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, Immortal Cultivation, Two-World Traveler with Many Children and Many Blessings. Chapter 1. Brother Tongzi, can't you help me get out of this mine? I'm stuck here all the time. I'm afraid I won't be able to find a Taoist companion until I die. Fanlong, the fifth mine, deep inside. Yi Mo raised his spiritual hoe and struck it hard on the ore. As the sound of clang sounded, his face became extremely depressed. I finally became a transmigrator and was bound to the system, which is also a happiness first system of having many children and many blessings. But the original owner of transmigrate is a minor. If nothing happens, it may be difficult for him to leave here in his life. Moreover, the entire mine is full of big men, and it is difficult to see even a female cultivator. This also resulted in Yi Mo not being able to use his fists at all. Even though the system gave him two golden kidneys from the beginning, which were said to last 8 times a night, it was of no use. Instead, it kept him awake at night and even made him interested in chrysanthemums. The host is asked to find a solution on his own. The system replied very mechanically. It's been a month, I already thought of a way. Yi Mo's face drooped. A month ago, when he was still in Blue Star, he didn't know which nerve was wrong. He stayed up all night and ran to the river for a swim. Within 10 minutes, his thigh cramped and he sank to the bottom of the river. I'm afraid he still has it now. No bodies were found. Maybe it would have been eaten up by the fish long ago. However, when Yi Mo woke up again, he found that he had been transmigrated, and he was still in the body of a monk with the same name and the same appearance. Through the memory of the original owner, Yi Mo discovered that this is an immortal cultivation world, and the original owner is also an immortal cultivator. Although his cultivation is not high and he is only in the early stage of Qi training, he is still a real immortal cultivator anyway. What surprised Yi Mo even more was that soon his Goldfinger was also activated. The only catch is that the original owner is an ordinary miner. Moreover, there are no female miners in the entire mine. There are female cultivators sent by the sect to supervise the miners, and they are also very powerful. They are usually foundation-building monks. This also made Yi Mo give up the idea of looking for a female cultivator in the mine. He could only leave the mine and go to the outside world to look for her. But the sect stipulates that once you become a miner, you must dig for 30 years before you can leave. Facing such unequal terms, Yi Mo's heart dropped. Moreover, this mine is not safe, extortion are common, and it is not uncommon for several miners to die in a day. Yi Mo was really worried that he wouldn't be able to survive these 30 years. Host, you have to work hard. In addition to digging for 12 hours a day and eating, drinking, and defecation, you still have time to practice. As long as your cultivation level goes up, your chances of survival will be higher. The system said coldly. There's still time left, don't I need to sleep? Yi Mo couldn't help but cursed, and then swung the spiritual hoe fiercely, hitting the spiritual mine, as if to vent his anger. It's said to be 12 hours, but actually it depends on luck. The sect stipulates that each person must dig 1,000 spiritual stones every month. In other words, at least 33 spiritual stones must be dug out in one day. If you are lucky, you may still be able to complete it. If you are not lucky, you will have to dig 24 hours a day. If you encounter another extortionist, your day's work will be in vain. Don't complain. Strong people never complain about the environment. The system still said it had nothing to do with it. Yi Mo cursed directly. However, the system didn't help, and there was nothing he could do. What needs to be done must be done. As time went by, it soon came to evening. Yi Mo was very lucky today. He dug 34 spiritual stones in 12 hours. However, Yi Mo did not leave immediately. 34 spiritual stones were just a basic task. Next, the spiritual stone he dug belonged to him. In the past month, Yi Mo usually digs a few more pieces every day, firstly to prevent bad luck, and secondly, he also needs to use spiritual stones to practice, or exchange them for gold to buy daily food. It was only the beginning of the month, so he wanted to save more. Quang quang. Half an hour later, as a piece of milky white spirit stone fell from the stone wall, Yi Mo suddenly felt happy and then put the spirit stone into the system space. This system also has an infinite space. Yi Mo usually puts spirit stones into the space to prevent being blackmailed. After collecting the spirit stones, Yimo wanted to pick up the spirit hoe and continue digging, but in his peripheral vision, a ray of light suddenly flashed on the stone wall. In the darkness, the spirit stone would also have a faint white light, but the light just now was obviously much brighter. Yimo took a closer look curiously. Some of the gravel was then pulled out. I saw a ball of light the size of a baby's fist, shining brightly on the stone wall. What is this? Yimo held the light bead in his hand curiously, feeling slightly cold. Immediately afterwards, he input spiritual energy into it, but nothing happened. System, do you know what this is? Yimo called the system in his heart, and directly extended his consciousness to the light bead without waiting for the system's answer. In an instant, the white light of the light bead became even more dazzling, and then the light bead rushed directly towards Yimo's mind. At the same time, less than 1 meter away from Yimo, flames kept flashing. Like thunder and lightning, suddenly the space was torn apart, and a hole slowly opened. Is this a space crack? No, to be precise, it should be a time and space gate. The opposite side is most likely another world. Wait, I just thought, and the opposite side is actually Blue Star. The system is in a rare state of disarray. Yimo's eyes widened even more, with a look of disbelief on his face. He had never thought about Blue Star since Transmigrate. He was originally an orphan, with nothing to worry about in Blue Star. System, do you mean that if I pass through this crack, I can return to Blue Star? Yimo's voice was trembling. Originally, he had no desire to return to Blue Star, but now, in this situation, if he could return to Blue Star, with his status as an immortal cultivator, wouldn't he be able to have more children without any scruples? Blessed. And even if there is no system, a cultivator can definitely thrive in Blue Star. Theoretically, let me think about why the space-time gate broke through and appeared. Oh, by the way, it should be the reason for that light bead. The host will wait a moment and let me investigate. At this time, the light bead was already lying quietly in Yimo's sea of consciousness, and its original light had dimmed. Yimo waited quietly. After a few breaths, the system's voice sounded again. Sure enough, this is a boundary transmitting stone. Once this boundary transmitting stone is opened, you can travel back and forth between the Water Moon realm and the Blue Star. Host, you are in luck. The system gave a rare compliment. This kind of boundary piercing stone is rare and extremely rare. Ha ha ha, God is really helping me. Yimo couldn't help but laugh a few times. If he wasn't afraid of being heard, he would have screamed to the sky. Host, don't be too happy too early. Every time you transmigrate this boundary stone, its energy will be exhausted. It may take more than 10 days to be fully charged. And once it is full, you will be forcibly transmigrated back on Blue Star. The system reminded. Is that so? No matter what, I can only sow seeds if I return to Blue Star and stay in this mine. Who knows which one will come first, accident or tomorrow? Yimo pondered for a moment, no longer thought about it, and stepped directly into the crack. As his figure disappeared, the crack slowly closed. Blue Star, Yangcheng, beside an unknown river. Night had just fallen at this time. On the bank of the river, a thunder light suddenly flashed, and then a man in gray clothes walked out of the crack in the thunder light. This man is naturally Yimo. It's really Blue Star. Yimo looked at the river in front of him. It was the same river where he came to swim on a whim a month ago. Although the system had said early on that this was Blue Star, when he actually set foot on this land, Yimo was still a little dreamy. Host, don't be sad. I just calculated that the boundary stone will be full of energy in 10 days. At that time, it will automatically transmigrate. Therefore, you have to hurry up and find a woman with spiritual roots within 10 days, and successfully make her pregnant with your child. The system reminded. It should be in time. Well, even if I transmigrate back to the Water Moon realm, I should be able to transmigrate back again, right? Yimo is not in a hurry. There are still more than 20 kilograms of gold in the system space. Finding someone to give him a child will definitely not be a big problem. What he is worried about now is whether he can transmigrate back if he returns to the Water Moon realm again. Yes, but it will take 10 days to fully accumulate energy. The system replied. Well, as long as I can come back, I'll go back to the rental house and change some clothes first. Yimo is now dressed like an ancient farmer, so it will definitely be inconvenient for him to travel. Next, He plans to sell all the gold he has on him, and he should be able to sell it for several million. Then it's time to find a woman with spiritual roots. Of course, apart from that, Yimo also has one very important thing to do. That's buying a gun. Although the gun is not a great threat to immortal cultivators, it can still kill chi cultivators by surprise. If you can buy a rifle or machine gun, Yimo's chance of survival in the mine will be greatly increased. The place where Yimo lives is not far from here, only 2 or 3 miles away, and it's called Tianhe Apartment. It's said to be an apartment, but it's actually an old office building renovated, and it only costs 650 yuan a month. Soon, Yimo arrived at Tianhe Apartment. Because he didn't have a key now, he went directly to the landlord's residence, but he didn't see the landlord. Yimo didn't have a mobile phone. After waiting for about 10 minutes, the landlord didn't arrive, so Yimo ran directly to the 3rd floor and came to the door of room 305. He planned to open the door directly. With his current strength, he could open the door without even damaging the door lock. But just when Yimo put his hand on the doorknob, a loud shout suddenly came from his ears, "What are you doing?" Yimo turned around and saw a man in his 20s, followed by a woman, running towards him in a hurry. Judging from their clothes, they should be workers in a certain factory. There are many factories near Tianhe Apartment, and the rent of this apartment is not too expensive, so many migrant workers live there. Yimo has lived here for more than a year and has seen many such workers, but this is the first time he has met these two people. They must be newly moved here. "Who are you?" The man looked at Yimo with a wary expression, and then directly took Yimo's hand away from the doorknob. Yimo didn't know why, but he didn't get angry. He just said calmly, "What happened when I went back to my home?" "Go back to your own home." "Haha, what, are you going to pry open the door directly?" The man sneered, then his face darkened, and he continued, "I advise you to leave quickly, or I will call the police." "What do you mean?" Yimo was slightly stunned. Even if he pried open the door, he was still prying open the door of his own house. "What would it do to you? You still haven't left, right? Okay, I'll call the police right now." After the man finished speaking, he took out his mobile phone directly from his pocket, but just as he was about to dial the police call, he was stopped by the woman next to him. Aiming, forget it, he hasn't started picking the lock yet. The woman also looked at Yimo warily. Apparently they regarded Yimo as a thief. However, Yimo hadn't started stealing yet. Even if she called the police, it would be difficult to convict her. She was worried that Yimo would retaliate against them afterwards, so she chose to do more than do less. Yimo finally understood, so he looked up at the house number and confirmed it was 305. Yimo has lived here for more than a year, and he is sure that he remembered the room number correctly. Did the landlord rent the house to someone else after he disappeared for a month? But my rent is not due yet. Do you live here? Yimo asked tentatively. Otherwise, the man said coldly. Well, can you please call the landlord? I used to live here, but a month ago, I went out for something. The landlord may not have contacted me and thought I didn't want to rent anymore, so he rented the house to you. Quote. Yimo didn't care whether the house was rented out or not. Now he just wants to get his things back, especially ID cards and bank cards. Because Yimo is a sole traveler, although he looks similar to the original owner, you may need to enter your fingerprints to apply for a new ID card and bank card. Yimo was worried that this body would not match his fingerprints. Brother, we are not going to pursue the case anymore. You are not done yet, are you? You said you were living here a month ago, and we have been living here for half a year. Okay, you have to call the landlord. I am here just fight, what will you say when the time comes? After the man finished speaking, he dialed the landlord's phone number. When Yimo heard the man say he had lived here for half a year, he was immediately shocked. Seeing Yimo's expression, the man thought Yimo was cowarded and felt very disdainful. Not long after, the call was connected. The man said a few words, then handed the phone to Yimo and said, "The landlord asked you to answer the phone." At this time, Yimo was still thinking about what the man said about living here for half a year. He saw the mobile phone in front of him and subconsciously took it. Yimo, you fool, where have you been these days? Yimo just put the phone to his ear, and the landlord's angry voice came from the phone. I went out for a trip, but I've only been away for a month. Why did you rent the house to someone else? Yimo raised his phone. Yimo knew the landlord very well. He had the face of a star, but the voice of a housewife. A month? Did you go to the Antarctic, hit an iceberg, or were you frozen? It's been 10 months now. Do you know how I spent these 10 months? The landlord's roar sounded again. Impossible. Yimo blurted out. He clearly remembered that he had only transmigrated for 1 month. How could it have been 10 months? Did it take 9 months to transmigrate? Yimo can actually understand why the landlord has such a big reaction. Yimo is an online author who writes novels. Although he is not famous, he is barely enough to make ends meet. Not long after he moved into this apartment, the landlord accidentally discovered the novel he was writing. Then after taking a few glances, I started to fall into the trap. Whenever Yimo didn't want to update, she would come directly to his door and urge him to update on the spot. And Yimo disappeared for 10 months this time, and the landlord would send Yimo a blade almost every day. What's impossible? Just wait there. I'll go back soon. After the landlord finished speaking, he hung up the phone. At the door of the apartment, Yimo was pacing back and forth. Many tenants coming in and out looked at him curiously, mainly because they were surprised by what he was wearing in his long, black and shiny hair. What happened? Did it really take 9 months to transmigrate? When Yimo handed back his phone, he specifically checked the time. It was now June 1, 2024. And Yimo remembered very clearly that the day he sank into the river was August 1, 2023. No, when you were completely breathless, you transmigrated to the water-moon realm almost immediately. The system replied. Then why has it been 10 months? Yimo seemed to have thought of something, but was still not sure. It should be that the time flow rate in the two realms is different. Based on this calculation, 1 day in the water-moon realm is 10 days in the blue star. The system guessed. I guess so. Yimo was slightly excited. If the time flow rate is 10 to 1, it is great news for him. Because in this case, as long as the seeds are sown on the blue star, it will only take 1 month to give birth on the water-moon star. This greatly speeds up the time it takes for him to get his reward. The system stipulates that only by giving birth to an heir can you gain cultivation and longevity. The rewarded cultivation level is not added directly, but doubled based on Yimo's current level. It can be said to be very simple and crude. Every time a descendant of Bilingan is born, he will be rewarded with twice the cultivation level in 1 year of life. The birth of a green spirit root will reward twice the cultivation level in 2 years of life. Blue spiritual root is 3 times the cultivation level and 3 years lifespan. Huang Lingan 4 times, 5 times the purple spirit root. This kind of doubling of cultivation level can almost allow Yimo to jump to several small realms, or even to large realms. As long as more and more heirs are accumulated, it will not be impossible to defeat nascent soul even by practicing Qi in the future. The rewarded lifespan can not only increase Yimo's lifespan, but can also be used to accelerate the divine ability of spells or the proficiency of immortal cultivation skills. This system is really powerful, but it just suffers from the lack of targets to use it on. Thinking of this, Yimo immediately called the system panel in his heart. Soon, a transparent attribute panel appeared in front of him. Host, Yimo, Kung Fu, Eternal Green Kung Fu, a system rewarded Kung Fu that can be practiced to the Holy Venerable Realm. Realm, early stage of Qi training. Spiritual power value, 14/15. In the early stage of Qi training, the maximum spiritual power value is 15. Spells, Fire Bomb, beginner, Light Body, beginner, Quicksand, not yet beginner. Cultivation increase, 0. Lifespan, 0 excluding the host's own lifespan. 1 hit, 1 time, refresh at 0 point, charge for half an hour before activation. P.S. By using the 1-hit skill, the offspring will 100% inherit the mother's spiritual root level. System, let's list the spiritual power values of each realm. Yimo briefly glanced at the panel and spoke to the system again. Then, the scene in front of him changed. Qi training. Early stage 10-15, middle stage 20-30, late stage 40-60. Foundation building. Early stage 200-300, midterm 400-600, late stage 800-200. Gold core. early stage 4,000, 6,000 midterm 8,000, 1 2,000 late stage 1 6,000 24000. The difference in a small realm is twice, and in a large realm it is 5 times. From the early stage of Qi training to the early stage of foundation building, the difference is 20 times. With Yimo's current cultivation level, the spiritual power value is 14. As long as it is doubled more than 10 times, it is equivalent to the early stage of foundation building. Of course, this is only the same spiritual power value. The decisive factor in combat power is not only the spiritual power value, but also the law weapon and the magic pill formation, which are also crucial. Moreover, Yimo only doubled his spiritual power, but his realm remained unchanged, so even if he doubled it several times, he still would not be able to use the law weapon that can only be used by foundation building. Of course, if the multiple is large enough, it can also achieve dimensionality reduction. More than a dozen times, it's just a dozen Bilingan descendants. If I'm lucky, I can find a few green or blue spiritual roots, or even yellow or purple spiritual roots. Then it won't take long for me to be comparable to the foundation building monks. Got it. Yimo was a little excited when he thought about it. He had just checked the system and found that there were no immortal cultivators in the entire Blue Star. In other words, in Blue Star, he can choose at will. Just when Yimo was thinking wildly, a blue rice electric car stopped in front of him. Not long after, the car door opened, and a very coquettish-looking woman with silver high heels, black stockings, a hip-covering skirt, a V-neck, sunglasses, and long brown hair stepped out of the car. Hey, I'm sorry, are you participating in wilderness survival? Liu Baijin lifted his sunglasses to his forehead and looked at Yimo with a surprised look on his face. Yimo's outfit, and if it weren't for his smooth hairstyle, he would be no different from a beggar. It's worse than that. Yimo came to the electric car and tugged at it carefully. He didn't expect that 10 months after he left, the rice would be on the market. When did it come out and how much did it cost? Yimo looked at Liu Baijin and said, "Don't ask, you can't afford it even if you ask." Liu Baijin said lightly. With Yimo's current level, if he hadn't given him a master certification every day, not to mention buying a car, eating would be a problem. Impossible, Brother Lei can't do this to me. Yimo pretended to be sad and angry. In the past, he really longed to have a car of his own, but now, he is confident that he can afford any car. TCH, I put your things in 101, do you want to take them away now? To be honest, Liu Baijin still hopes that Yimo will continue to stay here, so that he can remind Yimo every day. Well, Yimo pondered for a while. As long as he sold the gold, he would not be short of money. The first thing he thought about was to rent a better house. However, after seeing Liu Baijin, he was ready to move, so he silently said in his heart, "System, start character exploration." After a while, the system sounded. Character, Liu Baijin. Cultivation, none. Spiritual root, blue spiritual root, body of Taiyan. P.S. As long as the Taiyan body reaches the foundation building state, it can perform dual cultivation, and the cultivation speed will be greatly increased. What the hell, this is the blue spirit root, and it's still the body of Taiyan. Yimo didn't have much hope at first, because in the mortal world, there were definitely not many people with spiritual roots. Not to mention the blue spirit root. As for the Taiyan body, Yimo had heard people talk about it in the mine. This kind of body can be cultivated very quickly, no less than the purple spirit root. And as long as you reach the foundation building realm and practice double cultivation with your other half, the speed of your other half's cultivation will skyrocket. It will even increase the probability that the other half will break through the bottleneck. This kind of physique will definitely cause a sensation once it appears. You still have a room here. Yimo immediately changed his words. Not only the body of Taiyan, but also the blue spiritual root of Liu Baijin, Yimo also felt that he must communicate with her in depth. There are 2 more rooms, but there are no single rooms, only suites. Liu Baijin felt happy when he heard that Yimo was planning to rent his place. It doesn't matter, but I dropped my mobile phone. I have to buy a mobile phone later before I can transfer the money to you. Yimo said. Liu Baijin didn't care, thinking that as long as you continue to update, it doesn't matter whether you want rent or not. Liu Baijin took Yimo to room 101. Yimo quickly found his wallet, which contained an ID card, several bank cards, and a few coins. Then Liu Baijin gave Yimo the key to his suite, 306 on the third floor. It's just opposite the house I rented before. The structure of Tianhe apartment has single rooms on one side and suites on the other. The suite also has a balcony with good light. Liu Baijin also has a house here, 102 on the first floor, but she rarely lives here and usually lives at home. I usually only come here when the rent is collected. Yimo quickly moved his luggage to room 306. Then I changed my clothes. While it was still early, he went downstairs to the nearby commercial street, preparing to sell the gold and buy a mobile phone and a mobile phone card. I put more than 20 kilograms of gold in my backpack in advance and soon arrived at the gold recycling store. What Yimo didn't expect was that the price of gold had increased recently, and the recycling price was as high as 450 per gram, which surprised Yimo. Yimo went to several stores and sold more than 20 kilograms of gold, totaling more than 5 million. Then I bought a mobile phone, downloaded Weixin, paid for my money, and everything was done. Yimo was just about to get another haircut when he suddenly saw a couple walking in. They were the couple who mistakenly thought Yimo was a thief. The man's name should be Aiming, and the woman Yimo's name is not known, but this woman turned out to be quite pretty after changing out of her factory uniform. Especially the figure, absolutely S-shaped. The previous factory uniforms were relatively loose, so Yimo didn't notice it at all. The designers of factory uniforms are completely anti-human. Yimo secretly thought, and then started character exploration. Character: Yonglan. Cultivation: none. Spiritual root: blue spiritual root. Here I go, another blue spiritual root. Is this good luck, or are there many people in Blue Star who have spiritual roots? It stands to reason that Blue Star's spiritual energy is almost withered, and there should be very few people with spiritual roots. Yimo couldn't figure it out, and finally thought that he might have some of the European emperor's physique. But even if these two people are not a couple, they must still be a couple. Yimo doesn't have the hobby of being a thief. I withdrew my gaze and found a barber shop with excellent styling. There were quite a few customers in the store, and Yimo waited for half an hour before it was his turn. During this period, Yimo started character exploration on everyone in the store. In the end, it was discovered that no one had spiritual roots. It seems to be just pure luck. After getting his haircut, new hairstyle, refer to Hua Yingshang, Yimo returned to the apartment. It was almost 9 o'clock in the evening. Yimo took a simple bath, then lay on the bed and started to play Douyin. Why use Douyin? Because the system can tell whether the other party has spiritual roots through video images. The anchors who use Douyin are naturally the fastest way to find women with spiritual roots. And as long as you tip these female anchors, it is easiest to get online. When you meet some anchors who love money, you can easily get them. This is also the reason why Yimo is confident. Of course, with Yimo's current financial resources, some big anchors will definitely look down on him, so he can only find some small anchors who are not very popular. However, 3 hours later, Yimo saw at least 300 female anchors, but only 3 had spiritual roots, 2 with white spiritual roots and 1 with green spiritual roots. If it was in the Water Moon realm, Bailingan and Yimo wouldn't care. But now that he has returned to Blue Star, he naturally wants to choose one with better spiritual roots. He originally thought that the worst he could do was get the blue spiritual root. But now it seems a bit taken for granted. If you can't find a good spiritual root after another half hour of brushing, you can only settle for the next best thing. Yimo thought that as long as there were enough white spirit roots, the skills that could hit with one hit could be accumulated quickly in the early stage. 12:45 p.m. Yongcheng District, Chianda Apartment. Zhou Ruolin looked at the hundreds of audio waves on her phone and the deserted live broadcast room. The disappointed expression on her face could no longer be hidden. She has been live broadcasting for a month. Since she has no talent and is not good at talking, she has gained some fans solely by relying on her rather stunning face. But that's all. It seems that I'm really not suitable for this path. I'd better find a job tomorrow. Zhou Ruolin already had the mentality of giving up. At this moment, an ID named Little Miner from another world entered the live broadcast room. Zhou Ruolin didn't pay attention at first. There were many people coming in and out of the live broadcast room, and she saw that the other party was just a level 2 trumpet, so she didn't take it seriously at all. But a minute later, her eyes suddenly widened. She subconsciously rubbed her eyes, as if to make sure she had seen correctly. I saw a carnival special effect filling the entire live broadcast room. Little Miners from Another World, given to Anchor Linlin Carnival *1. Little Miners from Another World, given to Anchor Linlin Carnival 2. Little Miners from Another World, given to Anchor Linlin Carnival 10. 10 consecutive carnivals made Jo Ruoline feel like a dream. She had been live streaming for a month, and she didn't know what the carnival looked like. Unexpectedly, she got 10 of them without any warning. Family, did I get dazzled just now? Did someone really give me 10 carnivals? 10 carnivals, which is 30,000 yuan, she can get 15,000 yuan if divided. 15,000 a night, she had never thought about it before. Xiao Linlin, you're still sleepy, why don't you thank Mr. Yi quickly? Xiao Linlin was so frightened that she didn't expect that such wealth and honor could befall her. I just got here, what happened? The live broadcast room, which originally had only dozens of people, suddenly became lively. At this time Jo Ruoline finally reacted. Thank you, boss, thank you Mr. Yi. Jo Ruoline shouted in a rare voice. Just didn't get any response. Because the Little Miner from Another World finished 10 carnivals and exited the live broadcast room. Xiao Linlin, hurry up and increase your prestige. Don't miss out on such a wealthy person. You must hug your thighs tightly. Yes, yes, I will add. Yinzhou District, Shigong Community. Yu Mengyao, who has just finished broadcasting, is ready to say goodnight to her family. Suddenly, Hedong District, Dongxing Community. Zhang Yi looked at the sudden special effects and didn't react for a moment. When the barrage continued and people showed surprised expressions, Yonglan immediately shouted, Boss Yi, don't leave. 1 a.m. Because he couldn't find any better spiritual roots, Yimo had no choice but to give up and directly reward them. There were 4 in total, 2 white spiritual roots and 2 green spiritual roots. There are too few women with spiritual roots. Of course, this is also because the anchors Yimo uses are all live broadcast rooms in the same city. Mainly for the convenience of meeting. These 4 anchors all added to Yimo's prestige, but Yimo just said hello briefly and did not start a formal chat. Putting the phone aside, Yimo prepared to practice some practice, but because Blue Star basically had no spiritual energy, he could only use spiritual stones for practice. It seems that when I go back, I will dig hard. Yimo murmured, then gave up his distracting thoughts. Although the Eternal Green technique, which can be practiced to the Holy Venerable Realm, seems very intimidating, in fact, there is nothing special about this technique. There is no bonus to one's own aura. Moreover, Yimo cannot change other major skills. Once he practices other skills, the reward cultivation level will not increase, so Yimo can only practice it to the end. He practiced until 6 o'clock in the morning. When sleepiness hit him, Yimo was ready to take a nap. After waking up, try again and see if you can ask the anchor to come out and talk in detail. However, Yimo had only slept for 2 hours when there was a nervous knock on the door. Yimo opened his consciousness and found the beautiful landlady, wearing a white dress, standing outside the door with her hands behind her back. Yimo was a little speechless. This woman, when she was still serializing novels, would come to her home from time to time to urge for updates. Originally, Yimo planned to write 4,000 words a day, but was abruptly pushed to 8,000. Sister, didn't I make it very clear yesterday? I will not update again in the future. Yimo opened the door and said listlessly. If you really don't want to write about it, then what do you mean by eating it? Last night, Yimo clearly told Liu Baijin that he would never write novels again. At that time, Liu Baijin saw that Yimo had just returned, so he didn't press too hard. You don't really think that I have been begging for food in the past 10 months, do you? To tell you the truth, I went mining during this period, and now I don't have to worry about food and drink in my life. Yimo said half-jokingly. TCH, you are lying. Let's do this. As long as you continue to update, I will immediately give you 10 great god certifications. Liu Baijin naturally didn't believe Yimo's lies. However, she saw that Yimo seemed to be really planning not to update anymore, and she felt a little anxious. Why did I lie to you, Liu Baijin? I know very well how my novel is written. You give me rewards from time to time. To be honest, do you have any thoughts about me? Yi Mo smiled slightly and teased. Yi Mo was just a poor boy before, so naturally he didn't dare to think anything wrong about Liu Baijin, a rich young woman. But now, regarding her blue spirit root, Yi Mo must make her the mother of his child. But it's because Liu Baijin has a body of Taiyan. It would be best to let Liu Baijin practice immortality and then break through to foundation building. Only by breaking through the foundation building can Liu Baijin's Taiyan body be stable. When the time comes for dual cultivation, Yi Mo's cultivation speed will also be greatly accelerated. You want to be fooled. Do you know that the person who wants to chase me can go around Yongcheng several times? How many children from rich families have crossed the threshold of my house, and I don't even look at them? Liu Baijin's eyes were a little dodgy at first, but he soon calmly spoke. Really? Then don't tell me what you are hiding behind your back. The breakfast you brought is not for me. Yi Mo turned to one side and directly brought over the breakfast that Liu Baijin had hidden behind him. You have seen this. Is this difficult? Whenever you come, you are not allowed to bring anything with you. Okay, now that you've discovered it, do you want to eat it? If so, I'll update 2 chapters. If not, I'll throw it in the trash can. After Liu Baijin finished speaking, he pretended to snatch the breakfast back. Liu Baijin, do you want to know what I will be doing in these 10 months? Yi Mo didn't answer either. Since he wanted Liu Baijin to cultivate immortality, he naturally thought of a better excuse. No, I just want you to update 2 chapters today. You can't do it if you don't want to. If you don't want to, how can I make it up to you next? I'll give you another chance and say, you want it. Yi Mo was speechless. Why didn't this little rich woman fall for the trap? Childish. Okay, I really want to know. Liu Baijin had a perfunctory expression. Oh, then come in and say. Yi Mo pulled Liu Baijin into the room, locked the door, and then said solemnly, it's okay to tell you, but you must not tell anyone about this. Yi Mo lowered his voice and looked serious. Hurry up and tell me, why did you just stay for one night and the room was made a mess by you? Liu Baijin didn't seem to really care where Yi Mo had been in the past 10 months. She came to a chair and looked at the messy clothes piled on the chair. She naturally folded the clothes one by one and put them in the closet. Yi Mo looked at Liu Baijin's busy figure and felt a little moved in his heart. Liu Baijin had helped him clean his room before. But to be honest, Yi Mo has been afraid of poverty since he was a child. I have had low self-esteem since I was a child, and I didn't dare to think about it at all. You know, I get stuck writing novels very easily. Every time I get stuck, I would go for a walk nearby and think about the plot. 10 months ago, I remember it was almost 11 o'clock in the evening, and I was walking alone on the road. There were no pedestrians on the road at that time. Suddenly, an old man wearing a Taoist robe and an immortal spirit appeared in front of me. The old man said to me with a kind face. He said that I was a rare genius who cultivated immortality and wanted to pass it on. My method of cultivating immortality. Yi Mo said while thinking. You believe this too? Of course I didn't believe it, and I didn't even bother to pay attention to him. But what I didn't expect was that just when I wanted to leave, my body didn't obey me. Then I discovered that my body and the old man were slowly rising, empty, and then flew towards the East China Sea. I was taken to a small island by the old man. The old man said that as long as I succeed in cultivation, he will naturally let me go. I had no choice but to practice hard, and I am indeed a genius. It only took me 10 months to become an immortal cultivator. After Yi Mo finished speaking, he looked closely at Liu Baiyun's expression. However, Liu Baijin's face did not change at all. No more. Liu Baijin put his clothes in order, sat in front of Yi Mo, and opened the breakfast bag. Preserved egg and lean meat porridge, your favorite, eat it while it's hot, it won't taste good when it's cold. Quote. Well, after I completed my cultivation, I hurried back. Yi Mo picked up the spoon and took a bite. The taste was okay, but Yi Mo once had a luxurious meal of spiritual rice porridge when he was in the mine. The taste doesn't seem to be comparable to this preserved egg and lean meat porridge. You're not good at making up this story. You said it would be an urban romance, but why did it become a cultivator? Liu Baijin naturally didn't believe what Yi Mo said and took it as the next plot of Yi Mo's novel. Yi Mo didn't care either. Lu Baijin is not stupid. It is naturally impossible to believe such a ridiculous thing. So we still have to use some means. I know you don't believe me, so just sit tight and I'll cast on you the spells I've learned these days. Yi Mo stood up and found a relatively empty place. He took a deep breath, and then the spiritual energy in his body began to circulate slowly. What Yi Mo wants to use is the fire bomb technique. Fire bomb technique has been introduced. It is also the only attack spell he knows. However, because I have just started, I may not be successful every time I use it. This time, because I was performing it in front of Lu Baijin, I felt a little nervous for no reason. This resulted in him not farting even a single fart for a few seconds. Don't worry, I just learned it and it's still a bit rusty. Yi Mo smiled awkwardly, and then the spiritual energy began to circulate again. However, God was unfavorable and he failed again. Yi Mo didn't believe in evil and directly accelerated the speed of spiritual energy circulation. 3 seconds later, a trace of fire suddenly flashed in the palm of Yi Mo's hand, and it was slowly condensing. Coming. Yi Mo suddenly smiled happily. Then he immediately looked at Lu Baijin. At this time, Lu Baijin was holding a fried dough stick, without any image of a goddess at all, and bit into it. It seemed that he didn't see anything strange in Yi Mo's palm. Hearing Yi Mo's voice, she wanted to take a closer look, but at this moment, her phone suddenly rang. Seeing the incoming call on his mobile phone, Lu Baijin immediately said, "Shish," to Yi Mo and then pressed the answer button. "Where did you die? I'm in an apartment, and someone wants to rent a house." "Have you rented it yet?" "Soon. Get it done quickly, Mr. Lee has arrived at our house." New. The caller was Lu Baijin's mother. After hanging up the phone, Lu Baijin looked at Yi Mo with a bitter look on his face. "There is someone at home, I have to go back." "Then you go back quickly." Because of this phone call, Yi Mo's fire bomb technique was also interrupted, and he had to give up. Yi Mo's hearing was very strong now, and he could hear the voice of a woman on the other end of the phone, who should be Lu Baijin's mother. As for Mr. Lee, Yi Mo doesn't know. "Well, Yi Mo, don't give up. As long as you persist, I believe you will become popular." When he reached the door, Lu Baijin suddenly turned to look at Yi Mo. Although he didn't believe what Yi Mo said about cultivating immortals, she could feel that Yi Mo seemed to have become much more confident after disappearing for 10 months. "Just now I deliberately pulled myself into the room, which I had never dared to do before." Seeing Lu Baijin leave, Yi Mo didn't say much. No matter how much he said, Lu Baijin would feel like he was talking nonsense. After breakfast, Yi Mo was about to buy a few sets of clothes when his phone suddenly rang with a text message. "President Yi, I will start a live broadcast in the afternoon, do you have time?" The person who sent the message was Zhou Ruolin, who was also the first anchor that Yi Mo rewarded. It is also the only green spiritual root. "Well, when it opens, you tell me." Yi Mo replied quickly, then picked up the key, left the apartment, and took a taxi to the city center. "Then I bought a dozen sets of clothes in one go, spending several dollars." After returning to the apartment, Yi Mo started browsing Douyin again for 2 hours, but without any results. And many of them are repeat anchors. Until Zhou Ruolin started broadcasting. There are 5 carnivals when Yi Mo goes online. Then he directly sent a message to Zhou Ruolin on Weixin, "Can you come out and meet me?" In fact, in the morning, Yi Mo sent such a message to the other 2 anchors. But all were rejected. "Why did you come out to meet? Everyone knows it." Yi Mo only gave them gifts once, so naturally he wouldn't let them out that easily. "At least you have to be addicted." Yi Mo naturally understood, but he couldn't wait any longer. After 9 days, he will transmigrate back to Water Moon Star. The next time he comes back, Blue Star will be 3 months old. After sending the message to Zhou Ruolin, Yi Mo rewarded 5 carnivals again. Then after waiting for more than 10 minutes, Zhou Ruolin finally responded with a message. "At 7 o'clock in the evening, Mr. Yi, please tell me a place." Seeing this news, Yi Mo felt happy and immediately replied, "See you at Sanhe Hotel. As long as you are willing to come out, things are basically half done." Next, Yi Mo did not continue to watch Douyin, but practiced. Sowing seeds is important, but improving cultivation is also essential. Only when one's own cultivation level improves, the cultivation level that will be rewarded in the future will be higher. Soon the time reached 6 o'clock. Yimo sent a message to Zhou Ruolin and took a taxi to Sanhe Hotel. Sanhe Hotel is located in the center of Yangcheng Old Town, not far from where Yimo lives. At about 6:50, Yimo arrived at Sanhe Hotel. Although the Sanhe Hotel is not big, there is a grotto heaven inside. The decoration style inside is the same as that of Suzhou Gardens, with mountains, water, and bridges. It feels very comfortable. After entering the hotel, Yimo opened a private room and ordered a lot of seafood. It wasn't until after the food was served that Zhou Ruolin finally arrived. To be honest, Zhou Ruolin is really good looking, and the live broadcast didn't even include beauty. And it looks even more stunning in person than on the phone. The most intuitive thing is the height, which is at least 1.7 meters. President Yi, Zhou Ruolin said uncertainly after seeing Yimo. In fact, when she agreed to meet Yimo, she felt uneasy. Because she was worried that President Yi would be a bad old man with a bald head in his 50s or 60s, but she didn't expect that President Yi would look younger than herself. And the appearance looks very good. The only thing is this hairstyle. No matter how you look at it, it doesn't match. Just call me Yimo. Yimo motioned Zhou Ruolin to sit down, and then opened a bottle of liquor. Yimo, Mr. Yi, I didn't expect you to be so young. Zhou Ruolin said with a smile. Already 26. The original owner of Yimo's transmigrate is only 20 years old this year. In addition, due to his cultivation as an immortal, his skin is smooth, and he is a perfect young man. That Yi is 1 year younger than me. Zhou Ruolin saw Yimo's handsome face, and when she thought of what might happen next, her cheeks turned red. She thought to herself that even if Yimo didn't give her a reward, she didn't think she would refuse. Next, because both parties were satisfied, the meal became extremely delicious. When the food was almost done, Yimo started to get straight to the point. Zhou Ruolin, actually I only asked you out for one purpose. That is to help me give birth to a child. If you agree, I will buy you a house and a car. The house will not be less than 3 million, and the car will not be less than 500,000. But there is one condition. No one can know about our relationship. Yimo finished speaking in one breath. At this time, he had no idea. Although the offer was very tempting, not everyone could accept it. You mean, you want me to be your underground lover? Zhou Ruolin's beautiful eyebrows suddenly wrinkled. So to speak, don't rush to answer. I can give you a few days to think about it. Yimo said. Mr. Yi, don't think about it. You can be a lover, but I can't agree to having a child. Over the years, Zhou Ruolin has long accepted the reality that nothing is more important than money, but she can never give birth to a child without any name or status. When your child grows up in the future, how should you face him and what should you tell him? Yimo didn't expect the other party to refuse so simply. He was a little stunned for a moment and didn't know how to speak. Mr. Yi, thank you very much for the dinner. I'll go back first. After saying that, Zhou Ruolin stood up and left the private room. Watch her leave. Yimo didn't try to stay. At this time, he discovered that money did not seem to be omnipotent, and the way to open it was obviously wrong. It seems I need to change my mind. Yimo frowned slightly. He didn't expect that the first battle would end in failure. Call the waiter and pay the order. As soon as I stood up and left the private room, I heard a growling sound in my stomach. Although Yimo is an immortal cultivator, he still has to eat, drink and defecate. I asked the waiter where the bathroom was and then hurried to the bathroom. Because of the defeat in the first battle, Yimo was somewhat discouraged. At this moment, he was squatting in the pit and thinking about whether there was a better way. At this moment, the voices of two men talking suddenly came to my ears. Master Li, you are blessed tonight. I didn't expect that Liu Shichao's daughter would look so good. Haha, but I see that Liu Baijin seems to be very reluctant. She dares. If Zhou Shichao wants to survive in Yangcheng, it's not just a matter of Li Xiao's words. I think Zhou Shichao wants to send her daughter to Li Xiao's bed right now. I'm afraid that Liu Baijin doesn't know how to praise him. Mr. Yan, I'm afraid you have to take action in this matter. Don't worry, I've been prepared for a long time. I've already done some tricks on the food and wine. Liu Baijin should react soon, and I'm sure to make her want to die. Mr. Li, do you want to go directly to the restaurant? In the private room, or in the hotel? What choice do you make? Let's stay in the box first and then go to the hotel. Ha, Mr. Li is still good at playing. Although the voices of the two people talking were very low, Yimo could still hear them clearly with his sharp ears. Yimo didn't react when he heard Lu Shichao at first, but after hearing Lu Baijin, he suddenly felt a murderous intention in his heart. Of course, in modern society, one cannot kill people, at least not blatantly. About 2 minutes later, Mr. Li and Mr. Yan walked out of the bathroom. Yimo immediately picked up his pants and followed them until they entered a luxury box. No need to think about it, Lu Baijin must be inside. Yimo didn't rush in directly, but unfolded his consciousness to check. He is only at the early stage of Qi training, but his spiritual consciousness can also extend more than 10 meters. Divine consciousness unfolds. Sure enough, Lu Baijin and her father Lu Shichao were both in the private room. In addition to his father and daughter, there are also Mr. Li and Mr. Yan just now. This Mr. Yan is the owner of Sanhe Hotel, named Yan Sheng. At this time, Lu Baijin had already had some reaction, and his face began to flush. But she didn't notice it yet and thought it was because of drinking. Mr. Li just told me that he is willing to pay 30 million to buy 30% of your shares in Best Supermarket, but the condition is. Yan Sheng glanced at Lu Baijin, with a wicked smile on his lips. Really, that's great, Mr. Li, I'll toast you. Lu Shichao was very excited when he heard that Mr. Li was willing to pay 30 million. Lu Shichao actually made a bit of a loss for buying 30% of his shares for 30 million, but he liked the brand of Mr. Li. Over the years, Best Supermarket has been constantly suppressed by its peers, and Lu Shichao can no longer bear it. If Mr. Li joins, his Best Supermarket will definitely make a comeback. As for the conditions mentioned by Yan Sheng, he naturally knew that Mr. Li was interested in his daughter, but this was the best thing for him. In this way, we can stay close to the big ship of Mr. Li. Uncle Lu, my nephew should respect you. Mr. Li's eyes narrowed. Although he said he respected Lu Shichao, he remained motionless. Lu Shichao immediately stood up, ran to him, then nodded and bowed, and drank the wine in one gulp. Lao Lu, look, things have been settled now. We two old guys, should we give the young people some space? Yan Sheng guessed that Lu Baijin would be fast, so he half pushed Lu Shichao towards the door of the box. Dad, I feel a little uncomfortable. Lu Baijin finally felt something was wrong. His whole body began to become hot and his eyes were a little blurry. What's wrong with you? Mr. Li is very fond of you. You stay here and stay with Mr. Li. Wait, Dad will pick you up. Lu Shichao scolded. Although he didn't know that Yan Sheng had been drugged, he was not stupid and naturally saw that his daughter was strange. But even so, he still did not expose it, but pretended not to know. Dad, Lu Baijin wanted to shout loudly, but at this time she was too weak to even stand up. He could only watch his father leave. A sadness suddenly filled my heart. 2 lines of tears slowly flowed down. Now she still doesn't understand that her father sold her. However, Lu Shichao didn't even look at his daughter. Opened the door directly. Who are you? Just as Lu Shichao was about to walk out, he suddenly found a tall figure standing at the door. This figure is Yimo. Yimo didn't rush in immediately. After all, Lu Baijin's father was also there. But he never expected that Lu Shichao would ignore his daughter's plea for help. He didn't believe that Lu Shichao didn't notice anything strange about his daughter. In Lu Baijin's current state, anyone with eyes would be able to see that there is something wrong. In other words, Lu Shichao did it intentionally. Yimo never dreamed that there would be such a father in this world. Brute. These 2 words seemed to pop out from between the teeth. The anger on his face seemed to be burning up. You're still not a human being if you step on me. Yimo raised his foot and kicked Lu Shichao back to the box. Lu Shichao fell heavily onto a chair and then lay motionless on the ground. Yan Sheng on the side was stunned. Who is this person who suddenly appeared? How dare you do it in your own store? However, before Yimo could finish speaking, he received a loud slap in the face. Then Yimo grabbed his sparse hair and slammed him against the wall. With a pong sound, Yan Sheng felt his head buzzing, his legs went weak, and he fell to the corner of the wall. Yimo didn't feel relieved and stepped on his abdomen again. Poof, wow. Suddenly, the private room was filled with the smell of food and wine. After doing all this, Yimo came to Liu Baijian. At this time, the medicine in Liu Baijian's body had completely taken effect, but she still had a trace of rationality left. When she saw Yimo, she immediately grabbed Yimo's neck with both hands, and then her body began to move involuntarily. Yimo immediately injected spiritual energy into Liu Baijian's body. But at this moment, the medicinal properties have spread, and the spiritual energy cannot be suppressed, so he must be sent to the hospital immediately. Yimo directly picked up Liu Baijian and quickly left the private room. Mr. Li was still sitting on the chair, motionless. Because Yimo suddenly appeared, full of murderous intent, and extremely ferocious, young Master Li was stunned for a moment. It wasn't until Yimo left that he realized that he had been frightened by a young boy. If someone knew about this, how could he still hang out in the second-generation circle of Yangcheng? Yan Sheng, are you dead? If not, why don't you bring that kid back to me? Mr. Li almost roared. Yan Sheng was kicked so hard by Yimo that he couldn't even breathe. Although it has eased a lot now, his body is in so much pain that he can't get up even if he wants to. Fortunately, at this time, the hotel manager noticed the situation and ran over immediately. When he saw his boss lying on the ground, covered in filth and smelling fishy, he instinctively covered his nose. Nima, why don't you stop that person from before? At this moment, Yan Sheng didn't care how embarrassed he was. He just wanted to catch Yimo. If he didn't skin him, his surname would no longer be Yan. Yes, boss. The manager nodded immediately, then took out his walkie-talkie and summoned the hotel's security guards. Soon, 5 security guards appeared at the entrance of the hotel, blocking Yimo's way. Because the movement was relatively loud, many people who came to eat came to watch out of curiosity, and many people took out their mobile phones and started recording videos. At this time, the manager also rushed over. He shouted directly to his subordinates, "Why are you still standing there? Why don't you take him down for me?" When the 5 security guards heard the manager's shout, they immediately rushed towards Yimo. Yimo's face suddenly darkened and he said coldly, "Do you know that your boss actually drugged my girlfriend? If there is anything wrong with my girlfriend, do you know what responsibility you have to bear?" Yimo naturally didn't take the 5 ordinary security guards seriously. One kick can solve one. But afterwards, if the police come looking for me, I'm afraid there will be some trouble. So he told the cause of the matter. Many people recorded videos here, which can be used as strong evidence. You said you should give me the medicine. Anyway, I saw you beat my boss until he vomited blood. Zhang Jun, why don't you do it to me? The manager is also a veteran and doesn't take the bait at all. After hearing what the manager said, the 5 security guards had no worries and took out their electric batons. Especially the one named Zhang Jun, shook the electric baton in his hand and said with a fierce look, "Boy, I advise you. You just surrender, otherwise I won't be able to catch you with my electric baton." "Ha, looking for death." Yimo snorted coldly and stopped holding back. He hugged Liu Baijian with one hand, raised his palm, and slapped Zhang Jun who was rushing over. Snap. Zhang Jun's electric baton didn't even have time to turn on. He was blown several meters away and fell to the ground with a bang. His head was spinning, and half of his face was instantly swollen. "I'm going." The security guard behind Zhang Jun saw Yimo being so fierce and immediately wanted to stop his body, but it was too late. Yimo raised his feet and saw 2 arcs passing through. Then there was a loud noise, and the 2 security guards hit the hotel door hard, tilted their heads, and closed their eyes. The remaining 2 security guards were really dumbfounded. They dared to step forward and opened their electric batons one after another in a defensive posture. "Come on, we're all a bunch of losers." Seeing the remaining security guards cowering in fear, the manager suddenly said angrily. Although he was also shocked by Yimo's powerful methods, the boss was still lying in the private room. If Yimo escaped, his position as manager would be over. Yimo narrowed his eyes and turned to look at the manager. Then he placed Liu Baijian on the chair aside. The spiritual energy in his body circulated, and his body suddenly felt light. Like a gust of wind, it flew towards the manager. "What are you doing?" "Ah, poof." Yimo slapped the manager into the air, then kicked him in the abdomen. He kicked the pot-bellied manager directly into the cashier counter, scaring the front desk lady into screaming. This scene completely confused everyone, and many people exclaimed, looking like they had seen a ghost. "Beauty, are you filming a movie? Why don't you see the camera?" "I don't know. When I came here, I saw this handsome guy beating someone. Cameras may be hidden in dark places. I don't know about the crew, but this handsome guy's moves are really cool, and his punches are very good. Moreover, the acting skills of these actors are also very good, especially the manager. I just went to see it and I vomited out the last night's meal. It was sour. Ugh." Everyone was talking about it. Because Yimo's actions were completely beyond their imagination, so much so that they felt like they were filming a movie. Yimo ignored everyone, hugged Liu Baijin again, and ran towards the street in front of the hotel. Then he hailed a taxi and headed to the nearest No. 6 hospital. In the back seat, Liu Baijin had completely lost her mind. She lay all over Yimo and kept groping around Yimo. From time to time, seductive humming sounds came out of his mouth. Yimo had no choice but to grab her hands, hold her tightly in his arms, and then said to the driver, "Master, can you hurry up, my girlfriend has been drugged." "I can tell, young man, if you hadn't said to go to the hospital, I would have driven directly to the police station." The driver looked to be in his 40s, with a short hair and a rough face. He didn't look like a good person at first glance, but he didn't expect that he had a sense of justice. As soon as he stepped on the accelerator, the old Volkswagen felt like a supercar. In less than 10 minutes, he arrived at the emergency room of the 6th hospital. "Young man, take your girlfriend to see a doctor quickly and pay later." Brother driver turned to Yimo and said, "Thanks." Yimo didn't show any pretense and immediately rushed into the emergency room with Liu Baijin in his arms. On the roadside street of Sanhee Hotel, Zhou Ruolin left the private room and called a ding-ding with her mobile phone. But after waiting for more than 10 minutes, the driver did not arrive. I wanted to call to urge him, but suddenly I heard a scream coming from Sanhee Hotel. She took a closer look curiously and saw a woman in Yimo's arms, standing at the entrance of the hotel, showing off his power. That slap and kick really shocked her to the point of grinning from ear to ear. "Mr. Yi looks gentle and quiet, but I didn't expect him to be so fierce." 1 Volt 5, there is a woman hugging him. Are you sure this is not an action movie? To be honest, Zhou Ruolin once thought that if Yimo just wanted to pursue herself, he could go to the hotel tonight. But giving birth to a child with no name or distinction made her really unable to get over the hurdle in her heart. "It's just that he is really handsome, what should I do?" Waiting online, quite urgent. In young Master Li's box. Yan Sheng finally recovered a lot after spitting out a few mouthfuls of sour water. Liu Shichao, who was knocked unconscious by Yimo's kick, also woke up leisurely. "No one in Yangcheng dares to steal my woman, Li Yuan. Liu Shichao, you'd better give me an explanation for this matter." Li Yuan's face looked extremely ugly. He never thought that Yimo could be so good at fighting. This skill was completely beyond his imagination. "Master Li, I really don't know where this kid came from, and my daughter has never mentioned it to me. But, Master Li, don't worry, no matter who he is, I will never let him talk to my daughter." Together. Liu Shichao held his stomach, and at this time, there was still a slight pain in his abdomen. His face was also very ugly. As a boss with assets worth hundreds of millions, he was kicked unconscious by the boyfriend who was suspected of being his daughter. His face was somewhat unflattering. "Lao Lu, what you did is really unethical. Your daughter already has a boyfriend, and you didn't even tell us." Yan Sheng, who had vomited countless times, looked very pale. If Li Yuan hadn't left, he would have wanted to run to the hospital. He felt like his stomach was going to be empty. "Boss Yan, I really don't know. My daughter has always kept herself clean. If she really has a boyfriend, there's no way I wouldn't know about it." Liu Shichao looked bitter. He still knows his daughter very well. The last time he had a boyfriend was when he was in college, but he broke up with her long ago. Since that time, my daughter has never had a boyfriend again. In the past few years, he had been urging her to go on a blind date, but no one took his fancy, and it was obvious that he still hated himself. "I don't care if he is your daughter's boyfriend, I just want to know who he is. Li Yuan looked gloomy. Don't worry, Mr. Li, I will definitely investigate this person for you. If you want to know who Yi Mo is, just ask your daughter. However, Liu Shichao had been calling Liu Baijin, but no one answered, so he probably wasn't awake yet. The 6th hospital. Yi Mo paid the fare, thanked the driver again, and then returned to the door of the ward. It wasn't until 12 o'clock in the evening that Liu Baijin got better. At this moment, Yi Mo was peeling an apple for her, cutting the apple into pieces, and then handed it to her mouth. I don't want. Liu Baijin looked at the apple in front of him and shook his head. Be good, the doctor said you should eat more fruits now. But I've already eaten 2. Okay, then you have a good rest and tell me when you want to eat. Yi Mo, actually I'm already well. The doctors said I'm fine. Otherwise, we should leave the hospital. No, if you still have a headache or fever, it would be more convenient to go to the hospital. Oh, Liu Baijin has indeed recovered. Although he has not recovered as before, as long as he goes home and takes a nap, he will basically fully recover. However, Yi Mo was a little worried. He planned to check again tomorrow to make sure there was nothing wrong and it would not be too late to be discharged from the hospital. Just when Yi Mo wanted to urge Liu Baijin to sleep, Liu Baijin's cell phone rang. He took a look and saw that it was his father calling. During this period, Liu Shichao made dozens of calls, but Liu Baijin never answered. It was obvious that she had no hope at all for Liu Shichao. But it was obviously not okay to not answer the phone all the time, so she finally picked up the phone. Where are you? As soon as the call was connected, Liu Shichao's cold voice came from the phone. Originally, Liu Baijin wanted to question his father, why did he treat him like this? But she has been afraid of Liu Shichao since she was a child. As a result, when I heard Liu Shichao's voice, I couldn't say a word. Are you okay? Come home as soon as you are okay. Liu Shichao's voice came again, and Liu Baijin's whole body was trembling, but she still didn't have the courage to speak out a rebuttal. Give me your phone. Seeing Liu Baijin's reaction, veins flashed across Yi Mo's face. He couldn't imagine what kind of family environment Liu Baijin grew up in. Being framed by his own father, he couldn't even say a word in the end. I usually see her looking like a tomboy, but it turns out that all this is just her disguise. Yi Mo grabbed her phone directly. Liu Shi Supernatural also heard Yi Mo's voice. Although he hated Yi Mo deeply, he still had lingering fears about Yi Mo's strength. Mainly, he didn't know Yi Mo's identity. This also caused him to not know how to speak for a while. Say, Yi Mo roared directly. Naturally, Yi Mo would not look down upon the beast. Where did you take my daughter? Liu Shichao suppressed the anger in his heart. He was kicked unconscious by Yi Mo before and did not see Yi Mo's strong performance in the hotel. Although I heard about it later, what I heard and what I saw were different after all. You who are riding on horses have the nerve to ask, why don't you die when you are riding on horses? Why didn't your horse kill you when it hit you twice? This is the first time I have seen someone push my daughter into a fire pit. Mad, I have been unable to understand one thing during Qingming Festival this year. So many people have died, how come you are still alive, mad? Yi Mo outputted a burst of energy, and his mother's content was extremely high. Liu Shichao was so angry that his whole body trembled. He kept telling himself not to behave like a reckless man. Say, Yi Mo roared again. Boy, it's okay for you to scold me, but do you know who you offended? He is the richest man in Yinzhou district, the eldest son of the Li family. If you spoil young Master Li's good deeds, he will never let you go. Liu Shichao moved Li Yuan out directly. You beast, Liu Baijin is your daughter, and if I ruined Mr. Li's good deeds, are you still considered a human being? That's right, the dog you are riding is that bullshit Master Li's. Master Li gave you 2 dog heads. How can you live up to his kindness if you don't bark twice? Is Yi Mo afraid of Mr. Li? Although Yi Mo was only in the early stages of Qi training, as long as he didn't hit his head, ordinary bullets would never hurt his life. Besides, he can still return to the Water Moon realm. At worst, he will send young Master Li's family to the East China Sea to feed the fish. Who are you? What do you have to do with my daughter? Hearing Yi Mo almost blurt out, he didn't take the Li family seriously at all. Liu Shichao was also a little confused. You have no right to know who I am. All you need to know is that if you force Lu Beiyun to do anything she doesn't want to do again, Lu Shichao, I can tell you clearly that you will be shattered to pieces. After saying that, Yi Mo hung up the phone and then returned the phone to Lu Baijun. At this time, Lu Baijun's eyes widened and he looked at Yi Mo with an incredible look. She didn't blame Yi Mo for scolding her father. She had been drugged before, and although she was a little confused, she was still aware of the outside world. I also know that Yi Mo is very good at fighting. But it was precisely because he was so capable that she felt incredible. What you told me this morning couldn't be true, right? Lu Baijun couldn't imagine it. Could it be said that Yi Mo really went to cultivate immortality in these 10 months? This is too ridiculous. Of course it's true, so you should have told me your situation early in the morning. If I hadn't happened to be at the Three Rivers Hotel today, you would have been ruined by that beast. Yi Mo originally had a good impression of Lu Baijun. In addition, she has a Taiyan body. If I was really ruined by that Mr. Li, I would really regret it. Yi Mo, Lu Baijun didn't know how to answer. Although she grew up in a good family, her parents didn't love her very much and were very partial to her younger brother. Therefore, she has hardly experienced much fatherly and motherly love since she was a child. If you fail to do a good job, you will be beaten and scolded by your parents. Although her parents have become more restrained since going to college, the shadow of her childhood still lingers in her heart. When she was in college, she fell in love once. But her parents didn't agree, and in the end she had no choice but to break up. Just like this time, she knew clearly that she was sold by her parents, but she still didn't dare to have the idea of resisting. Sister Baijun, as long as I'm here from now on, I won't let anyone bully you. Yi Mo actually understood Lu Baijun's situation very well. He himself is an orphan. He grew up in an orphanage and didn't know what his parents looked like. Yi Mo, are you confessing your love to me? A smile finally appeared on Lu Baijun's face. Ever since she first met Yi Mo, she had a good impression of him. This is also the reason why she keeps giving rewards to Yi Mo and urging her to update. It's just that Yi Mo seems to be more timid than himself. I have never dared to do anything to myself that crossed the line. But at this moment, she could feel that the little man in front of her had really become mature. Sister Baijun, do you agree? Yi Mo suddenly asked nervously. Lu Baijun did not answer him, but lowered the pillow on his back, then grabbed Yi Mo's hand and said softly, I'm a little sleepy, don't leave. Heshu District, Chianda Apartment. The house Zhou Ruolin lives in is a suite rented with her best friend. As soon as she came back, her best friend immediately asked, why are you back? Is it a 60-year-old bald old man who is gay? When Zhou Ruolin came back, it was almost 10 o'clock, and Peng Choyan thought Zhou Ruolin wouldn't come back tonight. No, Mr. Yi is very young, 1 year younger than me, and he's also very good at fighting. Zhou Ruolin said subconsciously. There was no way, Yi Mo's kicks were really lingering. What are you talking about? What does it mean to be good at fighting? Did I ask you? Why do you feel that something is wrong? I mean, Mr. Yi is very strong. Zhou Ruolin. It's very strong. Have you already done it? Peng Choyan always felt something was wrong. No, I refused. Zhou Ruolin. What? Do you know what you are talking about? Peng Choyan was a little confused. I said I refused because the alien boss wanted me to be his lover and have a child for him, but I felt I couldn't do it. Zhou Ruolin. What's wrong with giving birth? Does it mean that the aliens look ugly? If it is really ugly, then there is really no way to do it. Don't talk nonsense, Mr. Yi is very handsome. Zhou Ruolin. Snap. Peng Choyan slapped her forehead with one hand. She felt so tired. Okay, let me sort it out for you. First of all, you said that Mr. Yi is very handsome. This is very important. Also, I don't know how you know that Mr. Yi is very strong. Anyway, he is very strong. Then, Mr. Yi is still very young. The most important thing is that, Mr. Yi is still very rich. Auntie, you finally told me that you refused. Is this stupid or crazy? Union, I have no name and no distinction to give birth to a child. I won't be able to explain to my child in the future. Zhou Ruolin. You tell me you tell me, if Mr. Yi wants a child, will he not care if the child is born? Since he wants the child, he will definitely be responsible after the child is born. Otherwise, he wants the child just for fun. Peng Choyun felt that her best friend was too smart and couldn't turn around. In her mind, she would rather give birth to 10 illegitimate children to the rich than to give birth to one baby to the poor. Being born without money means suffering. This, Zhou Ruolin felt that it made sense, but she always felt that it conflicted with her own principles. What the hell, if you don't want to, give me the prestige of Mr. Yi and let me live in the next life. Anyway, we have sworn together in the past. We are best friends, share the hardships together, and share the benefits as husbands. If Zhou Ruolin's description of the alien was true, Peng Choyun felt that she could have a wedding tonight. Whenever you frown, you are irresponsible for your future children. Isn't this good? After hearing her best friend's words, Zhou Ruolin was a little confused and didn't know how to choose. Linlin, we are not young anymore. We are no longer the beauty of Yongda University back then. If we miss this opportunity, we may never get it again in the future. Peng Choyun said earnestly. Union, let me think about it again. June 3rd, morning. Yi Mo took Lu Baijin to check his body again. After confirming that there was no problem, the two returned to Tianhe apartment. Then the two went to the vegetable market and bought some vegetables. Lu Baijin started cooking while Yi Mo helped. After lunch, Lu Shichao called again and asked Lu Baijin to go home. In the end, Lu Baijin chose to go home. Some things had to be made clear. Yi Mo had no choice but to go back to his room and prepare to continue playing Duin. But as soon as I opened the door, I heard the couple in the opposite room arguing. Yi Mo listened for a while, and the general content was that the man lost a lot of money gambling online. And it's not the first time I've gambled. But this time they lost the most, losing all their savings for nearly a year. Moreover, the man seemed to have borrowed money from a loan shark, and someone was already coming to collect the money. Finally, Yi Mo heard that the woman had been crying, and the man seemed to be begging her to borrow money from her parents' house, otherwise the loan shark would throw him to the East China Sea to feed the fish. Online gambling is killing people. Yi Mo sighed and then closed the door. Next, Yi Mo played Duin continuously for an afternoon and gained very little. In the end, he had to focus on the whole country and downloaded several live broadcast software. At 10 o'clock in the evening, when Yi Mo saw that Lu Baijin didn't come back, he called her. Lu Baijin said he would not go back tonight. Yi Mo didn't force him, he just told him to tell him if he had anything to do. Because he couldn't find any good spiritual routes, Yi Mo finally chose to practice. Sometimes luck matters. Dong Mansion, Villa area. Lu Baijin sat opposite his parents. Daughter, your parents are indeed sorry for this, but they are also doing it for your own good. You think, if you follow Mr. Li, there will be no harm to you. Lu Baijin's mother, Wang Yan, said sincerely. However, Lu Baijin didn't believe her words. Everyone could tell who she was doing for her own good. Forget it, let's not talk about young Master Li. Tell mom, what happened to Yi Mo? When she learned that Yi Mo had snatched her daughter away and kicked her husband unconscious, she naturally had no good impression of Yi Mo. Mom, I've already said that Yi Mo is just an ordinary network. Regarding Yi Mo's identity, Lu Baijin did not hide it. But my parents didn't believe it. But before she finished speaking this time, she suddenly thought that her parents had been holding on to Yi Mo, fearing that they might have something hidden. By the way, Yi Mo saved himself and injured the security guard of Sanhe Hotel, but Mr. Li didn't make any move. Could it be that he was doubting Yi Mo's identity? Thinking of this, Lu Baijin had an idea and said, Mom and Dad, I didn't want to talk about this, but you insist on asking, so I can only tell the truth, but you must not tell others. Actually, Yi Mo is a member of a mysterious agent organization. This organization is headquartered overseas and is extremely powerful. The members of the organization are all masters, proficient in fighting, firearms, etc. And Yi Mo is still a direct descendant of this organization. He came to Yangcheng this time mainly for training. 2 years ago, I rescued him in an accident. In order to repay my kindness, he moved into our apartment. Wang Yan, Lu Shichao. Daughter, are you lying to your parents? Wang Yan didn't sound right, and it felt like he was being deceived. Is it an overseas fraud gang? Are you putting a condom on your daughter? Could it be that he has taken a fancy to his own billions in wealth? How could I lie to you? Yi Mo is very strong and you all know it. This is the most powerful proof. You don't believe in a secret service organization. What would you think if you said that Yimo went to cultivate immortality? But having said that, did Yimo really go to cultivate immortality? He wouldn't lie to me, would he? Chapter 11. Although Lu Shichao didn't believe his daughter's words, he still told Li Yuan truthfully. Emperor Dragon Hotel, Presidential Suite. Li Yuan, who had just finished his work, fell into deep thought after listening to Lu Shichao's call. As the eldest son of the Li family, Li Yuan's vision was naturally not comparable to that of Lu Shichao. There are indeed some powerful organizations overseas, and they are more powerful than imagined. Although Li Yuan has not seen it with his own eyes, his father has told him more than once that the world is not as simple as it seems on the surface. Those people in movies and TV shows are not out of thin air, they are even weakened. Li Yuan didn't believe it before, but 3 years ago, his father hired a bodyguard from nowhere. He saw this bodyguard kill an adult buffalo with one punch. You can even dodge bullets. In the words of the bodyguard, within 7 steps, a gun is a child's toy. At this point, Li Yuan has restrained himself a lot over the years, at least he is not as careless as before. Cheng Ying, I need you to help me investigate a person. After hanging up the phone from Lu Shichao, Li Yuan looked at the woman beside him and said. Who? Cheng Ying asked. A man named Yimo currently lives in Tianhe apartment. Remember, I want his detailed information. From birth to now, what he has done and who he has come into contact with, I have to find out everything. Li Yuan said solemnly. Okay, as long as he is from Yongcheng and whether he received formula or breast milk when he was born, I will investigate it for you. June 4th. I practiced all night and then caught up on another night's sleep. Next, Yimo watched the live broadcast for another 2 hours. After this day's hard work, Yimo found anchors with spiritual roots. In addition to Zhou Ruolin, there were 2 green spiritual roots and 10 white spiritual roots. At about 12 o'clock, Yimo sent a group message to them, can you come out and meet me? Yimo waited for more than 10 minutes, but no one agreed to him. This is not a solution. It's too slow, and it seems that money and transactions are not conducive to harmony. Yimo frowned slightly. For these anchors, unless they are crazy about giving gifts, it may be difficult to meet them. Not to mention, giving birth to a child for yourself without any name or status. Even if there is, I'm afraid it will waste a lot of time and money. And Yimo doesn't have a lot of money. Seeing that there was only 1 week left before he had to go back to the Water Moon realm, Yimo was also a little anxious. We have to think of other ways. Yimo fell into deep thought, but in the end he couldn't think of a good solution. Just when Yimo was about to go downstairs to have a meal, the cell phone prompt sounded suddenly. At first, Yimo thought someone agreed to meet him. When I turned on my phone, I didn't expect it was Zhou Ruolin. Mr. Yi, do you have time? I want to meet you. After 2 days of thinking, plus Peng Choyan's persuasion from the side, Zhou Ruolin finally decided to agree to Yimo's request. Of course, have you thought about that? Because Zhou Ruolin was at Sanhe Hotel at the time and refused her completely, Yimo originally wanted to give up on her in the past 2 days. But she didn't expect Zhou Ruolin to take the initiative to send her a message. Yimo knew that if nothing unexpected happened, he would definitely succeed this time. Well, but Mr. Yi, can you tell me what you do? And are you married? Zhou Ruolin didn't know anything about Yimo yet. Peng Choyan asked about this yesterday, and she was speechless when asked. My identity cannot be exposed, but if I tell you, I'm afraid you won't know it either. In our country of China, there are actually many hidden families, and their shadows can be found in major companies, and I am the legitimate son of such a family. People like me will eventually end up in a political marriage, which is why I asked you to be my lover. Yimo had thought about his identity early on and pretended to be the legitimate son of an illusory and hidden family. It was a perfect fit. Real. Zhou Ruolin was obviously doubtful, but she did not continue to ask. If Yimo can really buy her a house and a car, he must not be an ordinary person. Besides, even if Yimo has no money, she doesn't feel there is any loss. Finally, the two agreed to meet at the Marriott Hotel. It's not that far from Tianhe apartment, it takes 20 minutes by taxi. At about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Yimo met Zhou Ruolin again. Zhou Ruolin dressed up very dazzlingly today. She is good looking, and coupled with her tall figure, she has attracted many people's attention. Inside the room, have you really thought about it? Yi Mo asked again, and then glanced up and down several times on his body, especially those long white legs, which made Yi Mo unable to take his eyes away. Zhou Ruolin hummed softly. Although I have made up my mind, I am still a little nervous when it comes to actually proceeding. Can you tell me why you changed your mind? There is no other meaning. Yi Mo just wants to understand her psychology, so as to facilitate better development in the future. Mr. Yi, you may think that I am a money-grubbing woman. No, I do want a wealthy life, but I also long for a beautiful love. To be honest, before I became Mr. Yi, I was always worried that Ms. Yi was a pot-bellied person, middle-aged old man. But I didn't expect Mr. Yi to be so young. At that time, I was thinking that even if Mr. Yi had no money, if he wanted to pursue me, I would not refuse. Quote. There is not much adulteration in Zhou Ruolin's words. He is already 27 years old. If it was just for money, he would not wait until now. Then why did you agree now? Yi Mo asked again. Because I went back and thought about it seriously. If Mr. Yi wants to have a child, he definitely doesn't just want to have a baby. Although I don't know what Mr. Yi thinks, it is still a choice for me. Zhou Ruolin knew that she might not have a status in this life, but she and her children would not have to worry about life in the future. Don't worry, your choice will not be wrong, Yi Mo said seriously. Well, Zhou Ruolin nodded lightly, not sure if she believed Yi Mo's words. Then, let's get straight to the point. Good. Although Yi Mo is already 26 years old, he is a genuine youngster. Facing the woman who could be picked at will at this moment, he didn't know how to start. Try to recall the opening of the major teachers in the island country. But still can't grasp the point. True to the saying, when the book is used, it will be less regrettable. Mr. Yi, the buttons are in the front. Well. Next, omit 50,000 words. Half an hour later, the system prompted that you could use one hit. Yi Mo thought. Yes. 1 minute later, Zhou Ruolin lay on Yi Mo's chest and felt Yi Mo's strong chest muscles. After half an hour, her heart had completely melted. And Yi Mo, who has 2 golden kidneys, can't get enough at one time. The restless and hot heart returns. Zhou Ruolin pushed him down with her backhand. Yi Mo opened his eyes slightly, and a stream of air flowed from the abdomen, through the chest, into the neck and throat, and reached the Tianling guy. I'm crazy, as if the soul is floating in the air. Next, omit 100,000 words. An hour later, Yi Mo reluctantly left the Marriott Hotel. Before leaving, Yi Mo and Zhou Ruolin made an appointment to go see the house and the car tomorrow. Back at the apartment, Yi Mo looked at the parking lot and didn't see Liu Baijin's car. Obviously, Liu Baijin didn't come back. Yi Mo had no choice but to go back to his room alone and continue to watch the live broadcast. June 5th. Yi Mo prepared to go see a house with Zhou Ruolin early in the morning. As soon as I opened the door, there was another noise from the room opposite. Moreover, the door was still open and there were many people in the room. They were all a group of tall men wearing suits and ties. Yi Mo glanced casually and saw a bald man in his 30s grabbing Yang Lan's husband by the collar and lifting him up. Shen Aiming, you are not so naive as to think that our loan shark is some kind of charity, are you? Brother Dao, give me another month. After 1 month, I will definitely pay back all the money. Shen Aiming kept begging for mercy. Judging from the red marks on his face, he must have been slapped several times just now. Yang Lan kept wiping tears at the side, obviously frightened. I'll give you another month, haha, Shen Aiming, do you know how much you owe us after 1 month? It's a total of 200,000, what do you think you'll pay back? Brother Dao sneered. No, Brother Dao, you can't do this. You paid 150,000 yesterday. Shen Aiming was completely panicked. For 150,000 yuan, he could still sell the house in his hometown, but for 200,000 yuan, he really couldn't afford it. Yes, it was 150,000 yesterday and 200,000 next month. Isn't that normal? What's wrong? Brother Dao sneered. No, Brother Dao, I really can't afford to pay back 200,000 yuan. Shen Aiming was completely panicked. But Brother Dao was unmoved. and looked at Yang Lan behind Shen Aiming with an evil smile. Oh, don't say Brother Dao doesn't give you a chance. If your brothers and sisters are willing to accompany us brothers for one night, then these 50,000, it's not like I can't help you get rid of it. This, Shen Aiming turned to look at his wife. Finally, with a sudden heart, he looked at Brother Dao again. Can you give me a few days to think about it? Of course, I can give you 3 days to think about it. After 3 days, you can either give money or give someone to someone. Remember, don't even think about escaping, unless you want to become Dong Hai's fodder. Yes, I won't run away. Shen Aiming nodded immediately. Things are settled. Several younger brothers came out of the room one after another and happened to see Yimo standing at the door of the opposite room. What are you looking at? I've never seen such a handsome boss. A horse boy shouted fiercely. Well, Yimo was stunned. Sure enough, when eating a melon, he was careful to become a melon. After thinking about it, it was none of his business after all, so he closed the door and prepared to leave. Yimo had just taken 2 steps when Ma Zi from before took another sip. TCH, you have a lot of hair. Isn't it amazing? You think you are Chen Haoran. Well, speak softer from now on. I live across the street. My ears are frightened, and my temper is not very good. I am prone to explosions. Yimo turned around and said. He was scolded for no reason, and Yimo was somewhat angry. Ma Zi didn't seem to expect that Yimo would dare to reply, and he immediately became angry, but then Brother Dao walked out. Shouted, Zhao Wu, don't cause trouble for no reason. After saying that, Brother Dao glanced at Yimo and said lightly, the hairstyle is good. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Yimo and Zhou Ruolin met. Last night, Zhou Ruolin found a house online. Yinzhou District, Oriental Wadu. The room here is about 20,000 square meters, and 3 million can buy a house of more than 100 square meters. Because Yimo paid it in one go, the deal was quickly concluded. After the transaction was completed, it was almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yimo took Zhou Ruolin to see the car again. Zhou Ruolin said that she liked Audi and that the car was good. In the end, Yimo helped her choose a Hongqi. However, there is no car available and it will take half a month to arrive. Oriental Wadu, Building 49, Room 603. Zhou Ruolin looked at her big house and was extremely excited. Husband, you are so kind to me. Zhou Ruolin jumped onto Yimo happily. As long as you like it. Yimo took advantage of the situation and dragged Zhou Ruolin's long legs. His hands suddenly felt smooth, and the softness of the collision was felt in front of his chest. Suddenly, a burst of anger rose in his lower abdomen. These golden kidneys. Well, I like it, husband. I am eager to help you give birth to children immediately, and I want to give birth to 2 children. No, I want to give birth to 10. Zhou Ruolin is indeed a little excited. Having a house of her own has always been her dream. But I didn't expect that I actually realized it. 10 is not enough, I want you to give birth to 100. Yimo smiled evilly. Haha, husband, you will make me happy. I am already 27 now. I am afraid that in 2 years I will be old and sallow, let alone give birth to a child for you. I am afraid that you will not even look at me. Zhou Ruolin knew that her youth had only lasted for 2 or 3 years. This was also the reason why she finally decided to agree to Yimo. Thinking of this, Zhou Ruolin was still a little disappointed. She naturally wanted to be with Yimo forever, but it was obviously unrealistic. Yimo actually thought about this issue too. Mortals age quickly and keep having children, and their bodies must be unable to bear it. The only way is to cultivate immortality. Once you become an immortal cultivator, you will not only be able to delay aging, but your physical fitness will also be greatly enhanced. However, Yimo is worried that once the method of cultivating immortals is taught, it will arouse other people's desire to rebel. After all, when a person becomes powerful, how can he be willing to be the vassal of others? But if he doesn't teach the immortal cultivation techniques, then he has to keep looking for women with spiritual roots, and he also needs a lot of money. If you only teach chi training methods, you should be able to control it. Yimo thought to himself. But soon, his eyes suddenly flashed with light, as if he thought of something. Using money may only make those women who love money willing to give birth to children. But if the temptation is to cultivate immortality, then few people can resist it. If you do this, you can get rid of the circle of small anchors and move towards big anchors and even some celebrities. And Yimo doesn't need to do anything himself, he just needs to train some people and let them lobby. What he has to do is to find a woman with spiritual roots. Thinking of this, Yimo looked at Zhou Ruolin in his arms, and the smile on his face could no longer be suppressed. Of course, he didn't know Zhou Ruolin very well, and they only knew each other for a few days. But Yimo obviously couldn't wait. The sooner he practiced, the sooner he could make a breakthrough in Qi training. Fortunately, time passes differently in the Water Moon Realm and Blue Star. As long as there are enough spiritual stones and Zhou Ruolin's green spiritual root talent, Zhou Ruolin may be able to break through in Qi training within a month in the Water Moon Realm. What's wrong? Is there something on my face? Seeing Yimo looking at her all the time, Zhou Ruolin still looked a little shy even though the two had been honest with each other for a long time. Xiao Linlin, since you are mine now, I can tell you some things. Yimo put Zhou Ruolin on the sofa and said seriously. If it's something very secret, it's okay if you don't tell me. Although Zhou Ruolin said this, she was still happy in her heart. Yimo told her that he came from a hidden family. Since it is a hidden world, outsiders must not know about it. If Yimo is willing to reveal it to him, it means that Yimo must care about him. It is indeed very secretive. I have never told anyone except you. I told you before that I am from the hidden world family, but I actually missed 2 words in the middle. I come from a hermit family that cultivates immortality. After Yimo finished speaking, he didn't wait for Zhou Ruolin's reaction. Get up immediately and let the spiritual energy circulate in your body. 10 seconds later, after failing twice, a burst of fire suddenly flashed across his palm. Immediately afterwards, a flame slowly rose into the sky. The flames grew bigger and bigger, gradually forming a fireball the size of an egg. Although the fireball is not big, it emits blazing high temperature. It's hard to use it in a newly bought house. When I get a chance, I'll take you to the countryside and let you see the power of this little fireball. The small fireball is actually not very powerful and can only create a small crater the size of a pot. However, the damage caused by the fireball technique mainly lies in the high temperature of the fireball. Once a mortal is hit, he will definitely die, and it will not even take long. Will be burned to ashes by the fireball. Goo goo. Zhou Ruolin swallowed twice, the expression on her face was extremely wonderful, and her voice was trembling. Honey, you are sure this is not a magic show? Cultivation. This is too unreal. Even though Yimo used the firebomb technique, Zhou Ruolin's first thought was that Yimo was performing a little trick to make herself happy. Yimo can understand. Who would believe that there really are immortal cultivators in this world unless they see it with their own eyes? After thinking about it, Yimo decided to show off his skills. He looked around and found an older wooden table in the corner of the hall. Then, the fireball was ejected. Boom! A loud noise instantly filled the entire hall. And that wooden table was turning into ashes at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ah! Zhou Ruolin immediately covered her mouth, her beautiful eyes staring like eggs. This. Zhou Ruolin looked in disbelief. She looked at the burning wooden table for a while and then at Yimo. Believe it now. Yimo smiled faintly and looked at the completely burned wooden table. Even the tiles on the floor were burned red and then cracked with a bang. Yimo expressed satisfaction. Yeah, but husband, this is a cultivator of immortality. Oh my god, my husband is actually a cultivator of immortality. Zhou Ruolin seemed to be in a dream. He actually became the lover of an immortal cultivator. In the past, if someone said that there were immortal cultivators in the world, she would naturally sneer at it, but now that she has seen it with her own eyes, how could she not believe it? Husband, why do you have to tell me such a secret? Oh my god, why did my husband tell me that there are immortal cultivators in this world? Why does my husband want me to be my lover? Why? Zhou Ruolin was not stupid, she immediately thought of something. At this moment, her little heart seemed to jump out of her chest. Because next, I will teach you the method of cultivating immortality. Yimo smiled. My husband, can you tell me, why me? Are you cultivating immortality? Are you the kind of immortal cultivator? Zhou Ruolin's soul was wandering. Because not everyone can cultivate immortality. It requires cultivation qualifications, which are spiritual roots. Only with spiritual roots can you practice. And you, not only have spiritual roots, but you also have better spiritual roots than ordinary people. In the water moon realm, almost 90% of the monks are bilingual. The green spiritual root does not require a foundation establishment pill to break through the foundation establishment. Such people, some small sects, will be directly included as inner disciples. Real. Zhou Ruolin's eyes were a little blurry, she didn't expect that she was so good. Of course it is true. I will teach you the method of cultivating immortals later. With your talent, you should be able to become a real cultivator of immortals within a year. But after you become a cultivator of immortality, I need you to do something for me, matter. If the green spirit root wants to break through to practice qi, it will not take a year at all. But this is blue star, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth has been exhausted. And there aren't many Yi-Mo spirit stones. It will definitely waste a lot of time. Husband, what are you going to do? Zhou Ruolin asked immediately. Although I am a member of a cultivating family, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is getting thinner and thinner, and the talents of my family are also withering. As a direct descendant, the burden of the continuation of the family falls on me, so I need more people with spiritual roots. Woman, do you understand what I mean? Yi-Mo said. Husband, if I can become an immortal, maybe I can give birth to 100 children. Zhou Ruolin said subconsciously. She naturally understood what Yi-Mo meant, but to be honest, she didn't want to share it with others. Fool, if you really want to give birth to 100 children, then you, an immortal, don't need to cultivate. Having children consumes a lot of money and will even affect your foundation. Giving birth is indeed very expensive, but it does not affect the foundation. However, the more children you have, the lower the children's talents will generally be. Even if both of them have purple spiritual roots, if they give birth to more than 5 children, there is a high probability that the offspring will be lower than blue spiritual roots, and it is even possible that they will have white spiritual roots. Of course, Yi-Mo is sure to hit a hit, and he can 100% inherit his mother's spiritual roots. He has no concerns about this. He wants fast, so he must have more. That's it. Zhou Ruolin suddenly felt a little disappointed. There was no woman willing to share it with others. Of course she is no exception. But she also knew that if Yi-Mo wanted to find someone else, she couldn't stop him, and she was not qualified to stop him. Xiao Linlin, you are my first woman. No matter how many women I have in the future, your status in my heart will never change. Yi-Mo also saw Zhou Ruolin's thoughts. One person's love is limited. So far, Yi-Mo cares more about Liu Baijin. As for other women, he intends to use them as tools. However, as Zhou Ruolin is his first woman, his feelings are naturally different. I believe in you, husband. I am willing to do anything for you to grow the family. Regardless of whether Yi-Mo was telling the truth or not, Zhou Ruolin couldn't let go of this opportunity, but she thought of one more thing, so she asked, Husband, you said you wanted me to help you find a woman with spiritual roots, but I don't know who has spiritual roots. It's okay. I will find it in advance. You just need to help me lobby. Also, when you become an immortal cultivator, I will teach you the spirit detection technique. You can also detect whether there are spiritual roots. However, it cannot be detected. The quality of spiritual roots. The art of detecting spirits is not really a magic, it is very easy to practice. You only need to input spiritual energy into the opponent's body to detect whether there are spiritual roots. Oh, Zhou Ruolin nodded. Okay, then I will give you the Immortal Cultivation technique now. After Yi-Mo said that, he took out a technique book from the system space. This technique still belongs to the original owner and can only be practiced until the Qi training is complete. Husband, don't worry. Yesterday I thought you were so powerful. I didn't expect you to be an immortal cultivator. Husband, tell me how long your limit is. Zhou Ruolin became restless when she thought of yesterday's madness. Now that I know that Yi-Mo is an immortal cultivator, he may be even more powerful. Thinking of this, the deer in her heart bumped into each other, and several of them had been killed. 8 times in a row, 1 time should last for 2 hours. Of course, not all immortal cultivators are as strong as me. The main reason is that they are born with amazing bones. Okay, come here twice, for 2 hours. 300,000 words are omitted here. For 4 consecutive hours, Yimo and Zhou Ruolin went from the sofa to the guest table to the bathroom, and finally Zhou Ruolin collapsed on the big bed in the bedroom. He didn't even want to raise his eyelids. Small, let's see if you dare to make such a request next time. Yimo kissed Zhou Ruolin's forehead, and then placed the technique and 10 spirit stones beside the bed. Then he left the community and prepared to take a taxi back to the apartment. Because it was almost 11 o'clock and there were not many cars on the street, Yimo waited for about 10 minutes before he got a taxi. As soon as he got in the car, Yimo was surprised to find that the driver was the same driver who went to the hospital last time. The driver brother also has a very good memory. He actually recognized Yimo when he saw him. The two started talking. The driver was very talkative. After a few words, he started bragging about his deeds. The driver's eldest brother's name is Eugen. He said that even though he is just a driver now, back then, he was covering the entire Shengying street. His personal names are Chen Haoran and Shigong Duan Kun. But for the sake of harmony, I finally chose driving, a stable job. Shigong, Yimo also knew, was a 30-year-old community. 30 years ago, there was no decent community here in Shengying, and Shigong community was one of the earliest. It had a very busy flow of people and was surrounded by not only a vegetable market, but also a commercial street, restaurants, hotels, and hospitals. However, since Shengying underwent major renovations in 2010, the number of high-rise buildings around it has gradually increased. Shigong has become much deserted. There are very few Aboriginal people in Shigong now. Except for some old people and children, they are basically all migrant workers. Brother Yu, the current housing price in Shigong is more than 20,000 yuan per square meter. If it is demolished, you don't have to work so hard. Yu Zhen didn't work the night shift alone, he worked the night shift and the day shift together. This was really a bit of a struggle for Yimo. Oh, there is no other way. I don't know when the demolition will take place. Now my family is counting on me alone. My wife is not in good health and my son is still in college. I have to fight hard. Although Eugen is only in his 40s, half of his hair has turned gray. Yimo felt a little emotional. He had been an orphan since he was a child and grew up in an orphanage. If he had a father who worked so hard, he would be satisfied no matter how hard and tired he was. Xiaomo, what do you do? Eugen asked casually without seeing the change in Yimo's mood. I used to write novels, but I didn't make much money. Now I plan to find a stable job. Yimo replied. Ah, this is not possible. You are still young and it is the time of struggle. Writing novels is too futile. It is better to find a stable job and learn a skill. I think your girlfriend is pretty good looking. If you don't work hard, you'll end up with someone else sooner or later. Eugen persuaded. It was because of his lack of skills that he drove so hard. My younger brothers back then are all doing well now just because they went to a technical school. Brother Yu is right, I'm thinking about what to study now. Yimo was speechless. What do you mean my girlfriend is good looking? She's obviously a goddess, okay. A few years ago, it was still at the school beauty level. About 30 minutes later, we finally arrived at Tianhe apartment. After saying goodbye to Eugen, Yimo looked at the parking lot again, but still didn't see Liu Baijian's car. But it's already 12 o'clock now, Yimo thought, it's better to wait until tomorrow to call and ask. Back in the room, Yimo started the live broadcast again. Now Yimo has changed his policy and set his sights on the whole country. What he has to do now is to find someone with good spiritual roots and leave the follow-up work to Zhou Ruolin. As soon as Yimo went online, many people sent him private messages before he even started browsing. They were all rewards he had received before. Especially one named Mengmeng, whose real name is Yu Mengyao, has a lot of private messages. This is the green spiritual root he brushed on his first day. Moreover, in the past 2 days, she had also sent a lot of messages on her prestige page, hoping that Yimo could go to her live broadcast room. However, Yimo was busy today and did not reply to her. As soon as he went online, Yu Mengyao immediately sent him a message. Yimo thought about it and went in to take a look. Although he has changed his policy, in the early stages, the requirements do not need to be too high. As long as you are willing, one counts. Welcome Mr. Yi to the live broadcast room. President Yi, do you want to listen to music or watch dancing? Meng Meng specially went to learn a dance these 2 days, just waiting for President Yi to come. Yu Mengyao's live broadcast was not very calm, with more than 300 people. And there are quite a few people posting barrages. It has to be Mr. Yi. I've been talking all day today and Meng Mengli didn't even pay attention to me. Exotic boss, let's start. I want to see Meng Meng's slim waist. Really, is this something I can see too? With the arrival of Yi Mo, the live broadcast room suddenly became lively. A minute later, 10 carnivals floated up continuously. Come on, Mr. Yi newbie. Haha, it seems that Mr. Yi can't wait any longer. Mr. Yi, I also learned a dance. Men go away. Yi Mo has no interest in dancing, and he is not a dress-up dancer. What he wants to see most now is the way you put on your clothes one by one every morning. Sing a song. Yi Mo sent a barrage first. Then he sent another message on WeChat. If you have a chance, can you dance for me in private? Yi Mo's intention was very obvious, just to meet. However, Yu Mengyao did not reply, but began to sing. Because Yu Mengyao didn't reply, Yi Mo didn't bother to wait any longer and just rode away. After checking the anchors for another hour, I still couldn't find any anchors above Lanlingen. Finally, he edited all the anchors who had spiritual roots these days and sent them to Zhou Ruolin. There are 15 people in total, 3 with green spiritual roots and 10 with white spiritual roots. About half an hour later, Zhou Ruolin replied, "Hubby, I don't know who these people are. These people are all anchors. Just pay attention to them later. Don't worry, you can talk to them after you become an immortal cultivator." Yi Mo thought to himself that when he returned to Water Moon Realm, he would bring back more gold. With money, it would be much easier for Zhou Ruolin to take action. "Well, hubby, will you go home at noon? If you come back, I will buy more food. It depends on the situation. If I go back, I will tell you in advance." Yi Mo planned to watch the live broadcast in the apartment. If he finds a good spiritual root, he will take action himself. Also, he hadn't seen Liu Baijin for almost 2 days and didn't know what was going on now. He was now worried that Liu Baijin would be forced to compromise under pressure, so he had to let her practice immortality as soon as possible. Looking at the time, it was only 6 o'clock. Yi Mo didn't call, but sent a message asking her if she would come back to the apartment today. However, it was not until 9 o'clock in the morning that Liu Baijin responded to his message, saying that he had arrived at the apartment. Yi Mo immediately walked out of the room. Just as he was about to close the door, he saw Liu Baijin walking out of the elevator, and there was a beautiful woman beside him. Seeing this woman, Yi Mo subconsciously started character exploration. Target: Cheng Ying. Cultivation: None. Spiritual root: Wonglingen. I'm a fool. Yi Mo was stunned. My eyes straightened. He had been brushing for so long, but he hadn't found a blue spirit root. Unexpectedly, he met a yellow spirit root as soon as he went out. "Just this one, take a look for yourself." Liu Baijin opened the door of room 304, then came to Yi Mo, pinched Yi Mo's thigh with his backhand, gritted his teeth and said, "Have you seen enough?" Liu Baijin was really angry this time. She didn't expect that as soon as she arrived, Yi Mo would keep staring at other women, and even in front of her. It was so blatant. "Hey, be gentle, is this a renter?" Yi Mo pretended to be pinched and took a breath of cold air, then asked with obvious guilt. "HMPH, I'm now considering whether to rent it to her." Liu Baijin rolled his eyes at Yi Mo. "What, why don't you make money?" Yi Mo asked knowingly. "It's not because of you. Just now you looked at others with straight eyes. Cheng Ying is really good looking, and the way Yi Mo looks at her is obviously wrong. If it weren't for her parents' relationship, she would definitely not rent it out." Liu Baijin had finished breakfast today and was planning to go back to the apartment, but her mother told her that someone would come to rent an apartment later and asked her to come with them. It was delayed until 9 o'clock. "Really, I was just curious about who she was and why she was with you. I thought she was your cousin or something." Yi Mo felt that he didn't just fall in love with someone when he saw her. It was mainly because of her Huang Lingen that he looked at her twice. "Really?" Liu Baijin raised his head slightly, then looked into Yi Mo's eyes. "Of course it's true. Well, I admit, I think she actually has another reason." Yimo really couldn't stand Lu Baijin's eyes, as if he wanted to see through him. Fortunately, the woman had already checked out the house, and then she crescent-mooned and sweetly said to Lu Baijin, "Sister Lu, the house is good, I'll rent it." "Okay, then I will write a contract for you. My rule here is that one deposit is 1 and 3 are paid. Is that okay?" Lu Baijin said as he took out the contract from his bag. Then we walked into 304. Yimo originally wanted to go with him. After all, Huang Lingen was extremely rare. He definitely didn't want to miss it. He just took this opportunity to get to know each other. But as soon as he took 2 steps, Lu Baijin stared back. "Well, I just thought of a theme that should be popular." Yimo touched his nose, pretended to be thoughtful, and walked back to his room. I thought, forget it, I live next door to myself, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. About 15 minutes later, Lu Baijin completed the formalities and came to Yimo's room. "Have your parents given you any trouble in the past 2 days?" Yimo was most worried that Lu Shichao would use Li Yuan to suppress her. "No, they haven't mentioned anything about Li Yuan in the past 2 days." Lu Baijin was actually a little curious. Did his parents really believe what he said and think Yimo was from a special organization? "That's good, Sister Baijun. In fact, you don't have to care about Li Yuan at all. What I told you before is all true. And when I was in the hospital, I found that you are also a genius. Wait a minute, let's go to a deserted place and I'll teach you how to cultivate immortality." In fact, teaching Lu Baijin the Immortal Cultivation technique is also very urgent for Yimo. After all, even if Lu Baiyun has a Taiyan body and is as talented as Zilingen, it will not be possible to break through to foundation building overnight. Are you really cultivating immortality? Cultivation into immortality really subverts the 3 views. Lu Baijin stayed at home for 2 days and always felt that Yimo was lying to him. I felt that Yimo was worried about Li Yuan, so he felt relieved. "Yimo, actually I have made up my mind. No matter how hard my parents force me, I will not listen to them this time, so don't worry about me." "Sister Baijun, I don't need to lie to you. Come on, I'll take you to the beach and I'll show you what magic is." There was no point in talking. Yimo grabbed Lu Baijin's little hand and walked out of the room. The main reason for going to the beach is to facilitate the use of fire bombs. And the apartment is not far from the seaside, it only takes a few dozen minutes to drive. Lu Baijin didn't resist in the end and let Yimo hold his hand. "When you go to the beach, just treat it as having fun. I'll drive." Coming to the parking lot and looking at the rice in front of him, Yimo was eager to try it. "Will it drive?" Lu Baijin had never seen Yimo drive. 5-year driver's license, Yimo said confidently. The driver's license is indeed 5 years old, but the driving experience is only 2 months, the same 2 months in the driving school. "Then you drove for a long time." Lu Baijin was deceived and handed the key to Yimo. Yimo opened the car door excitedly, then fastened his seatbelt and adjusted the seat. "The next step should be to start it. How do you start this? I can't understand it at all." In the end, Lu Baijin helped him start it. "Sister Baijun, sit tight, I'm going to drive." Yimo couldn't help but curl up the corners of his mouth, and then stepped on the accelerator. Boom, an analog voice sounds. "Slow down, it's too fast. Don't stop. I'll go at this speed." Because Yimo stepped on the accelerator too hard, he almost rushed into the apartment door. Fortunately, Yimo reacted in time and hit the steering wheel to death, so he survived. "Sister Baijun, don't panic, everything is under control." Yimo, sweating profusely. Although Yimo has never driven a car, as an immortal cultivator, his reaction and control are not comparable to ordinary people. After driving for a few kilometers, I gradually became more proficient and drove it smoothly. Tianhe apartment, 304, balcony. "Master Li, I have moved into Tianhe apartment, right next door to Yimo." Cheng Ying stood on the balcony, looking at the rice gradually leaving, frowning slightly. "Is this an agent? Could it be that you are teasing Lu Baijin?" "Very good. Find an opportunity to install a camera in his room and keep an eye on his every move." In the past 2 days, Cheng Ying collected all Yimo's information. Except for Yimo being an orphan and disappearing for 10 months, everything else seemed normal. But Li Yuan feels that the more normal it is, the more abnormal it is. He felt that all this was Yi Mo's disguise. So Cheng Ying was directly moved to Tianhe apartment and kept an eye on Yi Mo. Okay, Yi Mo just went out with Lu Baijin, I'm going to install the camera. Hang up the phone. Cheng Ying came to Yi Mo's room door and quickly opened Yi Mo's door. Then it took less than half an hour to install several cameras and multiple listening devices. At this time, Yi Mo just drove to the beach. Parking the car on the side of the road, the two held hands and walked towards the beach by the sea. Because it is June, the weather is still relatively hot, and the sun is relatively strong today, so there is no one on the beach. Lu Baijin didn't care whether the weather was hot or not, so he didn't take any protection. When I came to the beach, I took off my high heels and walked towards the beach with my bare feet. Yi Mo, I want to swim. Lu Baijin put his hand on his forehead and looked at Yi Mo with squinted eyes. Don't, it's easy to sink. Yi Mo reflexively said. When it comes to swimming, the feeling of suffocation comes over instantly. No way, you are a grown man and you are afraid of water. Lu Baijin chuckled. Well, don't get too close. Come here first and I'll talk to you about business. Yi Mo does have some psychological shadow. If he hadn't been a cultivator now, he might have suffered from mental illness. You are so afraid of water. Lu Baijin walked up to Yi Mo. She found that Yi Mo's face was a little pale, so she stopped teasing him and looked at Yi Mo with concern. Let's not talk about this for now, Sister Baijun, please look carefully. Yi Mo stretched out his right hand, and the spiritual energy in his body circulated. This time it was very successful. 3 seconds later, his right hand suddenly flashed with fire, and then a fireball quickly condensed. Because Lu Baijin was very close to Yi Mo, she seemed to feel the high temperature emitted by this small fireball. Yi Mo saw the shocked expression on Lu Baijin's face and felt very proud. Then he flicked his hand, and the fireball drew an arc and hit the beach dozens of meters away. Boom! There was an explosion. A small hole suddenly appeared on the beach. Lu Baijin turned around and ran over, only to see that the sand in the pit was burned black. Lu Baijin was completely stunned. Of course, her first feeling, like Zhou Ruolin's, was that she doubted whether this was arranged by Yi Mo in advance. In this pit, the cannons must have been fired in advance. Definitely not magic. Yi Mo knew that Lu Baijin would still be suspicious. At this time, a seabird just flew over his head. Yi Mo had a thought in his mind, and his spiritual energy began to circulate again. In an instant, he lightened his body, exerted force on his feet, and slid tens of meters directly. Then he jumped, and he jumped 10 meters high. Then he stretched out his hand to grab it, and the seabird suddenly screamed, but it was too late. Yi Mo had already grabbed its wings, and then slowly landed in front of Lu Baiyun. Yi Mo couldn't fly yet, so he was performing a light body technique, similar to the light kung fu in the martial arts world. If we say that casting a fireball can be explained by magic, then this jump of more than 10 meters high cannot be faked. You believe it now. Yi Mo raised the seabird in his hand and said proudly. Aha! Seeing it with his own eyes, Lu Baijin couldn't find any reason to doubt it. It's just that this really subverts the three views. Cultivation of immortals. How come there are really cultivators of immortality in this world? Just believe it. When we go back later, we will teach you the method of cultivating immortals. Yi Mo said impatiently. His only skill has been given to Zhou Ruolin, so he can only write another book. Yi Mo is not afraid that his skills will be seen by others, because without the spirit stones and elixirs, it would be impossible for Blue Star to successfully practice. Can I also practice? The person who taught you the technique won't say anything, right? Lu Baijin was naturally excited when he heard that he could cultivate immortality. I wonder who doesn't want to become an immortal. However, she has also read a lot of novels. A technique like this must be extremely precious and will not be spread easily. You are my girlfriend, who dares to say that? We will be a couple of gods and gods in the future. Yi Mo said with a smile. Who is your girlfriend? Lu Baijin's face turned red, looking very good. Although the relationship was basically confirmed when they were in the hospital, Lu Baijin was still very happy when he heard Yi Mo say that she was his girlfriend. Sister Baijun, I'm afraid you won't be able to escape from my grasp in this life. Yimo threw the seabird in his hand, and the seabird suddenly made a sharp chirping sound, as if to accuse Yimo of dissatisfaction. Then Yimo directly pulled Lu Baijin into his arms and kissed her domineeringly. Boom! Lu Baijin's mind suddenly went blank. He felt the warmth of Yimo's mouth and his whole body felt soft. 5 minutes later, Yimo's mouth was a little dry. The fire in the abdomen rises like a dragon rising out of the sea. I don't know if it's because of the golden kidneys, but Yimo's eldest brother is absolutely different from ordinary people. Once, out of boredom, when his brother stood up, he tried it and was able to lift 300 kilograms. Yimo. Lu Baijin's eyes were blurred. If she hadn't been outside now, she would have let herself go. But in the end reason prevailed. I was impulsive, Sister Baijun. I forgot to tell you that you are the body of Taiyan. Before building the foundation, you must not break your body, otherwise the body of Taiyan will dissipate. Yimo let go of Lu Baijin and said seriously. Lu Baijin naturally didn't understand this, but he understood what Yimo meant, so he asked curiously, does this cultivator have many levels? Let's go back first and talk to you on the way. Yimo took Lu Baijin's little hand and returned to the car. Then he told her about the knowledge of cultivating immortals. Half an hour later, they returned to the apartment, parked the car, and went to buy groceries hand in hand. Room 102, Lu Baijin's room. Lu Baijin is cooking at this time, and Yimo is writing the Immortal Cultivation technique. At 12 o'clock, after lunch, Yimo took out 10 spiritual stones and asked Lu Baijin to practice hard, and then returned to his room. Next, Yimo continued to watch the live broadcast. What Yimo didn't know was that as soon as he returned to the room, Chengying next door turned on the computer and paid attention to Yimo the whole time. For 3 hours, she discovered that Yimo not only looked at beauties, but also looked at beauties. And he also let out lewd laughter from time to time. Scumbag. Cheng Ying looked contemptuous. Li Yuan once seriously told her that Yimo might be a very unusual person, so she must be careful. Cheng Ying was also very interested in it at first. But now, she suspected that Mr. Li was overthinking, and that Yimo was just a loser. At this time, Yimo's image in Cheng Ying's heart had plummeted to the bottom. Yimo then brushed for another 2 hours, but there was not a single blue spiritual root, but 2 more green spiritual roots were found. But it's not in Yangcheng, but in Hangcheng. At about 6 o'clock, Lu Baijin sent a message asking him to come over for dinner, and Yimo rushed over. After eating, Lu Baijin continued to practice, and Yimo returned to his room. Just when I was about to continue using Douyin, my phone suddenly rang. Mengmong. Mr. Yi, do you have time? I want to dance for you alone. Yimo. What a coincidence. I just finished dinner. I'll wait for you at the Marriott Hotel. After saying that, Yimo picked up the car keys on the table and drove the rice to the Marriott Hotel. After Yimo left, Cheng Ying immediately called Li Yuan to report today's situation. You have been scrolling through Douyin all afternoon. That shouldn't be the case. Where is he now? I got a text message and drove off. Because of the angle, Cheng Ying did not see the content of the text message. Well, wait until he comes back to continue monitoring, and report to me as soon as there is any situation. When he arrived at the hotel, Yimo found that Yu Mengyao was already waiting at the hotel gate. Get in the car. Yimo waved to her. President Yi. Yu Mengyao didn't know Yimo. When she saw that Yimo was just driving a rice truck, her eyebrows suddenly wrinkled. In her opinion, Yimo must at least drive $1 million luxury car. However, she thought to herself that the other party might just keep a low profile and finally got in the car. President Yi, where are we going? Beach. Yimo only had 1 million left, and the success rate of using the money was probably lower, so he went straight to the point and exposed his identity as an immortal cultivator. Because it was only 7 o'clock and there was a lot of traffic, it took Yimo an hour to get to the beach. Mr. Yi, what are we doing here? Seeing that there were fewer street lights on the road, Yu Mengyao suddenly became nervous. Did Mr. Yi have any special hobbies? But I didn't talk about anything with him. Could it be that he is a pervert? Don't be nervous. The main reason why I brought you here is because what I want to do later cannot be seen by others. Yimo parked the car on the road and then began to tell about his life experience. Didn't you want to know what my family does on the way just now? Actually, I come from a very old family, which has been passed down from the pre-Qin dynasty to modern times. It can be said that for more than 2,000 years, my Yi family has always been the top family, no one else. However, during the Song dynasty, a huge change occurred in the world, which led to the decline of my Yi family and the decline of talents. Of course, the decline is also relative to the ancestors. Even though our Yi family is no longer what it used to be, we are still at the top of the list in China. As the legitimate son of the Yi family, I have a heavy responsibility. The purpose of looking for you is to help my Yi family spread its branches. As a reward, I will teach you my Yi family's top secret cultivation technique, Chongchun Kung Fu. Yi Mo said while placing his left hand outside the window. The root of the firebomb technique started to move. What? Cultivation into immortality? Yu Mengyao listened with interest at first. She was already very interested in such secrets. And she is also very confident in her country's culture. I feel that it is definitely possible for a 1,000-year-old family to exist. But at the end, when Yi Mo said the immortal cultivation technique, Yu Mengyao felt uncomfortable all over. Boss Yi, the story you told is very exciting, but I think you should write a novel. It will definitely be popular. Fire, fire, fire. Boss Yi, your hands are on fire. Yu Mengyao opened her pretty little lips and her eyes were as wide as pebbles. A necessary spell for cultivating immortals, killing people, setting fires, destroying corpses and eradicating traces, fire bullet technique. Yi Mo spoke slowly, then flicked the fireball, and saw the fireball streak across the dark night sky and hit the beach not far away. The flames soared into the sky, and the sand and gravel made a rustling sound. Just like a cutting machine cutting steel, sparks are everywhere. Yu Mengyao covered her mouth, but still couldn't block it, and uttered sentences that could not be expressed in words. How about it? Give me some children and I will protect your immortality. Yi Mo said lightly. Mr. Yi, it's not that I don't agree, it's just that I really can't believe it. Cultivation. Who wouldn't want to? Who doesn't want to live forever? Who doesn't want to have the power of transcendent? It's okay. I can first teach you the cultivation method and the spiritual stones necessary for cultivation. After you believe it, it won't be too late to agree to it. Yi Mo didn't expect that Mengyao would agree to him immediately. Really, aren't you afraid that I will regret it if I succeed in my cultivation? Yu Mengyao asked. Haha, you think too much. First of all, the spiritual energy of Blue Star World is very thin. You can only cultivate with spiritual stones, and only I have spiritual stones. Secondly, even if you succeed in cultivation, you are the lowest monk. A monk like this, one hand can hit 100. Yi Mo thought to himself, wait until you reach the early stage of Qi training. Zhou Ruolin may have given birth. By then, the spiritual energy value has doubled, which is equivalent to that of a monk in the late stage of Qi training. In the early stages, don't make it too simple. Well, if I really become an immortal through cultivation, I will give you as many children as you want. Yu Mengyao said, okay, I will send you the immortal cultivation technique right now. After speaking, Yi Mo sent a document to Yu Mengyao. You just put the exercises in such a simple document. Aren't you afraid of being discovered? Yu Mengyao opened the document and said in surprise. For her, the cultivation of immortality must be a top secret. Don't worry. First, if you want to cultivate immortality, you must have spiritual roots, and there are very few people who have spiritual roots. Second, let me tell you again, Blue Star has no spiritual energy. You can only use spiritual stones or spiritual pills. Only then can you practice successfully. Yi Mo reiterated it again. Then he took out 10 spirit stones from the system space and handed them to Yu Mengyao. At this point, Yi Mo only had 4 spirit stones left on his body. Originally, Yi Mo only had 35 spiritual stones on his body, and he gave 10 to each of Zhou Ruolin and Lu Baijin. In these days, he also consumed one himself. Oh, I'll have to work hard when I go back. If you want to make these women believe in you, you can only use spiritual stones to let them practice and become immortals, and then they will fully believe it. Yi Mo felt a little tired just thinking about it. Where do you live? I'll take you back, Yi Mo asked. Shigong Community. Yu Mengyao got the spirit stone and looked at the exercises again, as if in a dream. An hour later, Yi Mo sent Yu Mengyao to Shigong Community, downstairs of Building 39. Then she told her to practice hard and stop broadcasting live in the future. If she was short of money, she could tell herself. Yimo still has 1 million left. As long as you don't do anything big, it's more than enough. I'm not short of money. I live broadcast mainly to catch a Diamond King, but if you didn't lie to me, I will follow you in the future. Yu Mengyao smiled sweetly. Before coming to see Yimo, she was worried that Yimo was an ugly man or an old man. But I didn't expect that Yimo was not only handsome, but also very young. Apart from this cultivation technique, he sounds like a liar no matter how he sounds. She still has a good impression of Yimo. After watching Yu Mengyao go upstairs, Yimo turned around and drove away from Shigong community. At this time, Yu Mengyao also returned home. When she opened the door, she saw her mother sitting on the sofa in the living room. Yu Mengyao immediately walked over. Mom, why did you get up? Half an hour later, Yimo returned to the apartment. It was almost 10 o'clock. After a simple shower, and just about to watch the live broadcast for a while, Lu Baijin hurried over and said with excitement, Yimo, I seem to have developed the aura you mentioned. What the hell? Yimo immediately grabbed Lu Baijin's little hand, and soon he felt that there was a faint spiritual energy flowing in Lu Baijin's body. Yimo couldn't help but smacked his tongue and said, nah, it's true. Yimo sighed for a while. Lu Baijin had only practiced for 10 hours after all the calculations, but unexpectedly he felt angry. You must know that it took the original owner 3 full months to feel angry. There is really no comparison between this person and others. Yimo deeply felt the gap between top academics and poor academics. Yimo, I feel like I will be able to build the foundation soon. However, these spiritual stones are not durable. I have already used 2 of them. When Yimo gave her the spirit stone, he warned her that the spirit stone was very precious and he didn't have much. She had tried using the spirit stone before, but she didn't feel anything at all. With Yimo's talent, 1 spiritual stone can be cultivated for 24 hours. It is not surprising that Lu Baijin consumed 2 spiritual stones in 10 hours. But even so, Yimo was still filled with emotion. In the mind before, Yimo actually didn't have a deep impression of these powerful spiritual root people, because he was surrounded by white spiritual roots, and no one was better than anyone else. And those monks with powerful spiritual roots are not of the same class as them at all, and they rarely interact with each other. So it's just hearsay and hearsay. But now that he saw Lu Baijin, Yimo was a little jealous. If he had such a strong talent, he would be able to dominate the entire Water Moon realm in a matter of minutes. Don't worry about the spiritual stones. I will go overseas in a few days and I will bring more spiritual stones. After thinking for a while, he handed all 4 spirit stones on his body to Lu Baijin. Are you going overseas? Because you can only practice with spirit stones. Lu Baijin was worried that Yimo didn't have enough spirit stones, so he said, why don't I use less to save you from running around? It's not just to get spiritual stones when I go back overseas. My master has stipulated that I have to go back every 10 days and stay for 3 months before I can come out. He is worried that I will lose my mind by playing with things outside and delay my practice. In the future, I will have to run on both sides, and I will definitely have to find an excuse. 3 months, so long. Lu Baijin was not a coy little woman, but when she heard Yimo say that she would be leaving for 3 months every 10 days, she felt a little reluctant to leave. She and Yimo had just established a relationship and were still in the passionate love stage. If Yimo hadn't said that she was a lunar body, she would have moved in with Yimo long ago. It's only 3 months, it'll be over in seclusion. There is no way, the boundary stone will automatically transmigrate when its energy is full. He can't help it. If possible, he would also like to stay on Blue Star until he has a son of 1.8 million, and then return to Water Moon Star. Wouldn't it be better? If his cultivation level were doubled by 1,000,000 times, even if he was in the early stage of Qi training, he would be able to suppress ordinary soul formation with his backhand. Lu Baijin didn't dwell on it. After all, he had already become an immortal and his days would be long in the future. What he has to do now is to break through the foundation building as soon as possible, and then he can live with Yimo. Yimo, how do you usually solve it? Lu Baijin glanced at the mobile phone on Yimo's bedside. At this time, a female anchor was wearing cool clothes and twisting her waist. How to solve it? Yi Mo was confused. It's just physiological. Were you doing this just now? Liu Baijin glanced at the phone, and then made a gesture with his slender hands. I think too much. I really want to solve it. Wouldn't it be better to find a teacher from an island country? Yi Mo immediately denied it. Really? Then how did the teacher from the island country do it? Please teach me. Liu Baijin suddenly stepped forward, raising his little head, and the two peaks pressed tightly against Yi Mo's chest. Yi Mo lowered his eyebrows and was immediately pulled into the endless abyss. Liu Baijin, calm down and don't get angry. The fire rises and the dragon comes out of the sea. These golden kidneys. Because the two of them were really close, the spear directly pressed against Liu Baijin's abdomen. So fast. Liu Baijin was a little surprised. In love-action movies, isn't there a lot of foreplay? How about I help you? I'm afraid you can't. You're not looking down on me. Yi Mo opened his eyes slightly. The soul suddenly started to wander. 10 minutes, what's going on? 20 minutes, Yi Mo, my hands are so sore. Half an hour, Yi Mo, what should I do? Are you feeling uncomfortable? An hour later, Liu Baijin dragged his numb hands and left the room in defeat. Is it because of cultivating immortality, or has the island country deceived itself? This was Liu Baijin's only thought after leaving. After Liu Baijin left, Yi Mo could only take a cold shower, then start meditating to get rid of the evil thoughts in his mind. What Yi Mo didn't know was that the scene just now was clearly seen by Cheng Ying next door. Impossible, absolutely impossible. No one can last this long. For a whole hour, Cheng Ying kept staring at the screen on the computer. She just wanted to see how long Yi Mo could last. The technique must be a matter of technique. If it were me, it would definitely be launched within 10 minutes. 10 minutes was her high praise for Yi Mo. Because of her confidence, ordinary people would never be able to last 5 minutes in her hands. Yi Mo is really weird. What are the aura and spirit stones that Liu Baijin mentioned before? Is it martial arts training? But one thing is certain, Yi Mo is indeed from overseas, and he should go back in a few days. Although there are still some things that are not clear, at least it is certain that Yi Mo is from overseas. After thinking about it, she cut the video and sent it to Li Yuan. Of course, the last hour of the video was edited out by her. After all, there was no need to hurt Mr. Li's self-esteem. 10 minutes later, Wonglong Hotel. Although Li Yuan didn't know what the spirit stone was, from the conversation between Yi Mo and Liu Baijin, Li Yuan could basically conclude that Yi Mo was the legendary martial artist. After thinking for a moment, Li Yuan decided to go back home. Since Yi Mo is a martial artist, he needs to hire someone who can deal with martial artists. The Li family is located in Jujingting, a high-end villa community in the eastern suburbs of Yangcheng. There are only more than 100 households in this community, but those who can live in Jujingting are either rich or noble. And the Li family is in the center of Jujingting, Jujing-no. One courtyard. It is rumored that the price of this villa is as high as 200 million, and even if you have money, you may not be able to buy it. Li Yuan returned home and immediately walked towards a side door of the hall. Bang bang bang. Uncle Yang, are you asleep? There is something I want you to confirm. After saying that, Li Yuan stood at the door and waited quietly. The Uncle Yang he mentioned was named Yang Ming, and he was the bodyguard his father hired 3 years ago. Although he was a bodyguard, Li Yuan's father repeatedly told him not to show any disrespect to Yang Ming. What's going on? 3 minutes later, Yang Ming opened the door with a hint of displeasure on his face, because he was practicing and was most afraid of being disturbed. I seem to have found someone like Uncle Yang. Li Yuan took out his mobile phone and opened the video. There were 2 videos in total. The first one was of Yi Mo kicking the security guard at Sanhe Hotel, and the other one was naturally sent to him by Cheng Yinggang. Interesting. Why did you offend him? After watching the video, Yang Ming said calmly. Being able to kick someone away is nothing. What he said was interesting because Yi Mo looked like he was less than 20 years old. There are not no martial artists who are 20 years old, but they can only be cultivated by some big families. As for the spiritual stones, he didn't understand, but it didn't matter. The woman in the video is Liu Shichao's daughter. I originally had my eye on her, but he snatched her away. After confirming that Yimo was the martial artist, Li Yuan actually had no intention of competing for Lu Baijin anymore. Although Yang Ming is his family's bodyguard, it is impossible for Yang Ming to take action just for such a trivial matter. This is why he didn't tell Yang Ming until now. Don't worry, Mr. Li, this person is from overseas. There are indeed some powerful forces overseas, but overseas martial artists do not dare to make mistakes in China. I will go to his place tomorrow to ensure that he will not do anything to you. Quote. The main reason why Yang Ming stayed in the Li family was to repay the kindness of the old man of the Li family. When he was seriously injured, Mr. Li spent money to buy him healing elixirs. Helping Mr. Li to warn Yimo is a simple matter. Thank you, Uncle Yang. Li Yuan didn't expect that Yang Ming would help, and he felt happy. June 7th, in the evening. After dinner, Yimo and Lu Baijin took a walk nearby. Because of his cultivation, Lu Baijin's energy and spirit have been different these past 2 days, and he has become much more cheerful. After returning to the apartment, the two of them stayed in the room for a while. Finally, Lu Baijin forced Yimo out of the room with a red face. When he returned to 306 and opened the door, Yimo was stunned because he found a middle-aged man sitting on his computer chair with his legs crossed and smoking a cigarette. Yimo took 2 steps back and looked at the door, making sure it was 306. You made the right move. This middle-aged man is Yang Ming. He smiled faintly, then picked up the water glass on the table, went to the trash can, and put out the cigarette butt. The movements are very natural, as if you were at home. Who are you? Yimo walked into the room. Although he was not sure who the other party was, he didn't care. He entered the room and closed the door. He took a look at what the other person was wearing. Wearing black short-sleeved shorts and a pair of black cloth shoes, he looks very simple. However, Yimo could tell at a glance that the other person had an extraordinary temperament and was not like an ordinary person. This kind of temperament, like staying in a high position for a long time, gives people a feeling of being superior. Let me introduce myself. I am Yang Ming of Wuji sect. I am here today to mediate the matter between you and young Master Li. After Yang Ming finished speaking, he sat back on the chair with his legs crossed again. Yimo gave him the feeling of being too young. Even if he was a martial artist, how strong could he be? Moreover, Yimo is also an overseas martial artist. He is a disciple of the Wuji sect, which is a well-known and upright sect and is supported by the state. As long as he wants, he can drive Yimo out of the country at any time. So from beginning to end, he didn't take Yimo seriously. Never heard of it. Yimo naturally wouldn't care about Wuji sect or Taiji sect as long as it was not a sect that cultivated immortals, and the system had clearly told him that there were no immortal cultivators in Blue Star. So why would he care about these ordinary sects? If you want to mediate the conflict between me and Li Yuan, it's very simple. As long as he puts 100 million into my card, I will naturally not pursue it. The reason why Yimo didn't attack Li Yuan was because he wanted to wait until he learned the art of disguise, and then he wouldn't be so scrupulous about it. And he also wanted to wait for Lu Baijin to grow up. After all, he has to disappear for 3 months, just in case the Li family's dog jumps over the wall and attacks Lu Baijin. You haven't heard of Wuji Gate, haha. Yang Ming sneered twice. He didn't believe that Yimo didn't know about Wuji sect, as if he regarded Yimo as a newborn calf who was not afraid of tigers. Little brother, you may have misunderstood what I meant. What I mean by mediation is that I want you to take Lu Baijin to apologize to Mr. Li, and then promise not to associate with Lu Baijin again. Really, how did such shameless words come out of your mouth? I don't know what your relationship is with Li Yuan, but it doesn't matter. I'll just reiterate that I want Li Yuan's life, and no one can stop it. After a long time of commotion, Yang Ming was invited by the Li family to help. Yimo had opened his spiritual consciousness before and discovered an energy in Yang Ming's body. This energy is very powerful for ordinary people. But for immortal cultivators, this energy is not on the same level as spiritual power at all. Just like eggs and stones. Ha ha. Yang Ming finally couldn't help laughing, then his face darkened, and he said coldly, young student, didn't your master tell you that you must keep a low profile and keep a low profile in the country? Do you know that, with what you just said, I can kill you on the spot? If overseas martial artists cause trouble in China, then domestic martial artists do have the right to kill them. You mean, if someone drugged your wife, and then you had to apologize to others, and then sent your wife to someone else's bed, before leaving, you had to promise to others that you can use it, but I won't follow you in the future anyway. My wife is dating, what do you mean, am I right? You call this keeping a low profile, right? Quote. Yi Mo sneered. In fact, it doesn't matter whether it is in Blue Star or Water Moon Realm. Everything depends on strength. The reason why Yang Ming stood up for Li Yuan was simply because he saw that Yi Mo was too young and easy to bully. Let's put it this way, you are determined to go against the Li family. That's fine. I would like to see how much the younger generation overseas has now. Yang Ming's face turned cold. Yi Mo took him as an example, which made him feel extremely insulted. Without further words, Yang Ming clenched his hands into fists, and a strong wind spread out from him. The tight-fitting short sleeves bulged. In an instant, the air temperature in this small room seemed to have dropped a bit. Yang Ming stepped forward, the wind of his fists making a sound. Wujiquan is also the most basic boxing method of Wuji sect. It is famous for its speed, accuracy and ruthlessness. When it is used, several fist shadows will appear, making it impossible for people to accurately judge the specific direction of the punch. Moreover, Wuji sect's internal skills and mental skills have extremely cold properties. Once hit, you will feel the biting cold and even freeze the opponent's internal energy. Yang Ming relied on this Wuji fist to defeat martial artists of the same level many times. Now facing a young man in his 20s, he is naturally extremely confident. He changed his hands and shot dozens of fist shadows, completely blocking all Yi Mo's escape routes. Too young, he must have just come out to experience. Yang Ming sneered again and again. He saw that Yi Mo was motionless in the face of his own boxing skills. He was obviously frightened. As soon as he had this idea, suddenly, there was a pop sound in his ears. The sound was very clear, especially in the left ear, which was deafening. Then there was a burning pain on the left side of my face. What's going on? Yang Ming was stunned. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly felt some air leaking from his mouth, and pop, his two front teeth fell out of his mouth. Yang Ming's fists were indeed very fast, but under Yi Mo's consciousness, they seemed a bit flashy. Before Yi Mo could get close to him, he slapped him twice. But Yang Ming was not an ordinary person after all. These two slaps did not cause much damage to him, only two front teeth were knocked out. This is impossible. Yang Ming looked at Yi Mo with a shocked expression. He didn't even see how Yi Mo took action. Of course, he did not shrink back because of this, but became cautious. Although Yi Mo's skills were somewhat mysterious, Yang Ming didn't believe that he couldn't even defeat a young man. I was careless just now and didn't dodge. Next, please teach me Wu Balangjin. Wuji Balangjin, every time a punch is punched, the power of the fist wind will be superimposed. Until the 8th punch, the power of the punch will be overwhelming and unstoppable. Of course, the prerequisite cannot be interrupted. After Yang Ming finished speaking, he quickly unleashed Wuji Balangjin. In just a few seconds, he punched several times, with extremely fast punches and tricky angles. However, under Yi Mo's consciousness, there was nothing to hide from, and Yi Mo avoided them one by one. I don't know, how different is this inner strength from spiritual energy? Yi Mo hasn't made any moves since he just wanted to see how strong martial artist is. Seeing that Yang Ming's fist power was getting stronger and stronger, Yi Mo also started to test. After Yang Ming punched 7 times, his punch speed suddenly slowed down, but the pressure of the last punch was obviously much stronger than before. With a thought in his mind, Yi Mo gathered all the spiritual energy in his body directly at his heart. Humph, I don't know how high the sky is. Yang Ming saw that Yi Mo seemed to be trying to catch his punch, and he sneered in his heart. The 8 waves of strength has been achieved, and he is confident that even an earth-level martial artist can only dodge. Today next year will be your death anniversary. Boom! The powerful fist wind brought a biting chill and instantly hit Yi Mo's chest. Pong pa! Yang Ming only felt that he punched the steel plate. Then there was the sound of 5 fingers being broken. No, it was the wrist. The wrist seemed to be broken. The golden bell, it's definitely the golden bell. You are from the Vajra sect. It's impossible. How old are you? How could you have cultivated the golden bell to such an extent? Yang Ming panicked. He kept retreating, waiting for an opportunity to jump off the balcony. It can't be done without jumping. Facing such a powerful golden bell, there is no way to fight. Don't leave in a hurry, I have a few questions to ask you. Yi Mo had no intention of killing Yang Ming. Killing him now would only bring unnecessary trouble to himself. Are there many martial artists in the country? What are the sects and their strength? Yi Mo asked. There are at least 30,000 registered martial artists, and there are many sects, but they are mainly led by the four major sects, Kunlun, Wudang, Amei, and Songshan. Although our Wuji sect is not one of the four major sects, it is second only to them. Yang Ming did not dare to hide anything and answered truthfully. What about strength? For example, is it much stronger than you? Yi Mo then asked. However, his question somewhat reveals his lack of knowledge. Yang Ming thought to himself, I am a Der. I am only at the Zan level. There are also the Earth level, Heaven grade, Innate, and Grandmaster above. Well, of course, there are many who are stronger than me. I am just a small disciple of Wuji sect. Yang Ming never thought that Yi Mo didn't even know the martial artist level. I thought Yi Mo was just starting out and didn't know much about the domestic forces. Yi Mo nodded and didn't ask any more questions, although Blue Star's top martial artist might also be very powerful. But now that Zhou Ruolin is pregnant, when the child is born, the system will reward twice as much cultivation. By then, your cultivation level will be equivalent to the late stage of Qi training. Why care about these martial artists? Yang Ming, go back and tell Li Yuan that if he wants to survive, just put 100 million into my card. Yi Mo thought to himself that if there were 100 million, there would be no need to exchange spiritual stones for gold. Brother Yi, what you are doing is wrong. You are committing a crime. If the Li family reports to the police, the Security Bureau will take action and you may be sent to martial artist prison. Martial artist extorts ordinary people, the crime is increased, and the country will take action immediately. Security Bureau. Yi Mo was slightly stunned, but he had never thought about this issue. No, Brother Yi, you don't know about the Security Bureau. Yang Ming looked at Yi Mo with a suspicious look on his face. Tell me about it. Yi Mo, whether we are domestic or overseas, we martial artists are a destabilizing factor, so the country has set up the 9 bureaus of the Security Bureau to specifically check and balance us martial artists. You can also call them Aoqi Masters. Yang Ming replied, whether in modern times or in ancient times, there are such departments to ensure the stability of the country. Okay, but no matter what, it's a fact that Li Yuan drugged my girlfriend. I can't just let it go, unless. Today is June 7th, and Yi Mo will return to Water Moon Realm soon. For safety's sake, Yi Mo actually wanted to get some guns early in the morning, but he didn't have the means to do so. Yang Ming, unless anything, Brother Yi, just say it. Yi Mo, can you help me get some guns? Yang Ming, gun, long gun or short gun, steel or wood? Yi Mo, are there any AK-47? Yang Ming, what the hell? What do you want that for? Yi Mo, of course it will be of great use, just tell me if you can get it. Yang Ming, I am a boxer, not a gun player, but I can ask Mr. Li. Yi Mo, okay, if Mr. Li can get it, I can forget about the past. Yang Ming, okay, then you wait for my news. Although guns are not a great threat to immortal cultivators, that is only if they are prepared. As for monks in the Water Moon Realm who don't know what guns are, it is not impossible to kill them in the late stage of Qi training due to unexpected situations. Then I'll go back first. Yang Ming, yeah, Yi Mo. I'll treat you to a drink another day. Yang Ming, no, I'm very busy. Yi Mo, okay, if you need anything, you can call me. Yi Mo's strength made Yang Ming want to be friends with him. After saying that, he took out a black business card from his trouser pocket and put it on the computer table. Then he covered his broken right hand and walked toward the door. It's a bad start today. I have to go to the hospital. Yang Ming was still frightened. I felt severe pain in my severed hand. I thought to myself, today's young people really don't care about martial ethics. Why didn't you tell me earlier if you knew how to do it? When Yang Ming opened the door, he suddenly saw the door opposite opened, and then a woman with plum blossoms and rainy eyes ran towards him, and then ran directly into Yi Mo's room. Not long after, several men in suits and ties also ran out of the room. What are you looking at? I've never seen such a handsome boss. Zhao Wu shouted angrily when he saw Yang Ming blocking the door. Well, Yang Ming was stunned for a moment, and the next second, the anger in his heart rose 3 feet high. Are all young people today so bullying? After being slapped twice by Yi Mo, Yang Ming was convinced that he really couldn't beat him. But what the hell is your mother? Wearing a suit in June, what kind of black snake skills are you pretending to me? Yang Ming was completely angry. With a backhand and a kick with his right foot, Zhao Wu was kicked directly to the corridor by Yang Ming. He rolled dozens of somersaults and could not stop at all. Immediately afterwards, Yang Ming slapped the group of horses crazily like a wolf among the sheep. One by one, several horsemen directly lost their combat effectiveness. Wait a minute, do you know who I am? Brother Dao, who had just walked to the door, was stunned for a moment when he saw his men lying on the ground like a pile of mud. Do you know who I am? I let you shave your head, I let you shave your head. Yang Ming seemed to have deep opinions on bald heads. When he saw Brother Dao, he jumped up and slapped him. The sound of snapping resounded throughout the corridor. Brother Dao was originally shiny and bald, but was immediately shot with bloodshot eyes by Yang Ming. It wasn't until Brother Dao collapsed to the ground that Yang Ming stopped and walked towards the elevator entrance without looking back. I am naturally bald. Brother Dao, who was lying on the ground, made a weak voice. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.